All right, welcome. This is Orion Rising. I am your host, Leonard O'Neill. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good morrow, depending on where in the world you are tuning into this show. Show this out, show this out, show this out. It's Friday night. Friday night, Law of One. Okay, let me take down that overlay banner there so you can see my ugly mug. There I am. Let me put myself up in the full screen because you don't need to see just a blank screen there, do you? Weird thing. I don't know what I did, but I was working on my computer, messing around with trying to get the information set up for the StreamYard to be able to go live over to another. And all of a sudden, when I turned on the StreamYard, my camera went on. It has not been working for a while. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but it decided to start working properly. Now my mother's deciding that it's time to get undressed. She's taking off her shoes. So I'm going to press play so you guys can hear the Law of One. And I'm going to go and put her shoes and socks back on because she's trying to get undressed. All right. So I'll be right back. I'm going to press play and then we'll check the volume. All right.
May 19th, 1981. 52.0 Ra. I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. We communicate now. 52.1 Questioner. In the previous session you stated that the other type of experience is the fourth, fifth, and sixth densities of other galaxies and some within your own galaxy which have learned necessary disciplines of personality to view the universe as one being, and therefore are able to proceed from locus to locus by thought alone, materializing the necessary craft.
Okay, so let me know if you guys can hear that okay. Oh, sounds good. Denise already said that. Welcome, Denise. I see you there. I see Penny there. Who else? Is there anybody else? I can see numbers, but I don't see anybody else because they didn't say anything in the chat. Okay, show this out, show this out. We're on session, it looks like 53. We didn't play that at all last week because I got caught up talking about current events, but I did want to talk about current events for a second. First of all, my camera's working strangely. I don't know what's going on. It said before that it was stuck in Zoom, and then it's been stuck on and off in Zoom forever. And all of a sudden, Zoom charged me again for the next year a couple of days ago. And that might have been it. I don't know if it reset. Don't know, but my camera's working. So I don't have to have the other camera sitting up on books behind the computer. Right. So that's crazy. Okay. So I wanted to say there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes around the world. And the good thing is this is what they're not reporting over here in this country because they don't want you to know about it in the United States. If you're over in Europe, you already know it's happening. The people over in Europe, in many countries, like every country in Europe, they're having their elections or the beginnings of their elections, just like we're having our election cycle starting now, going into November here. And they're voting out all the progressive, crazy people all around the world. And even in France, they had to abolish one of the things that they had enacted that was a woke agenda. And Macron's worried that he's going to lose his job. Emmanuel Macron is worried that he's going to get voted out. So literally around the world, people are starting to go, we're done with this because you guys have ruined our economy ever since COVID. You're destroying things. You're locking us down. You're making it illegal to have cows, illegal to grow food, all of this stuff. They're like, you're out. And they're voting the people out. So it's happening around the world, but you're not going to hear about that on the news in the United States because we have an election coming up in November and they don't want you to know that the rest of the world, just like when Iceland overthrew its government back during COVID, I think it was in 2020 when it happened, they overthrew their government because of all the stuff that they were trying to enact, were locking everybody down. And they said no. And the government started getting chesty and saying, we're going to come to your houses and lock you up if you don't agree. So the people overthrew the government, tried them and executed everybody that was involved that were hardliners and started a brand new government over in Iceland. Most people in the world don't even know that happened because they didn't want you to know about it. It was not widely reported at all in the United States of America. I don't know about the country that you live in. However, whatever country that you live in, if it hasn't happened to you yet, just know that the people around the world are tired of it. Over here in the United States, they predict that unless they cheat, there's going to be 180 to 200 million Americans voting for probably Donald Trump. Coming up in November, if the election happened today. So you're going to see a reversal of fortune from the Democrats because they're going to have to enact basically everything that Trump had enacted but in the next 6 months. Otherwise, they're going to get voted out. Or they're going to have to try and get rid of Gavin or Joe Biden and put in Gavin Newsom. I hear tell that Kamala Harris is getting geared up to start a run to become the governor of the state of California, which means that Gavin Newsom, who's the governor of the state of California, needs somewhere to go. So it looks like he's going to be running. And if he doesn't run this time, he's definitely going to run in 2028. So if things don't work out the way they are now, she's going to try and replace him here so that he can move up and run for the president in 2028. So either way, they're either going to get rid of Joe Biden before the election and put Gavin Newsom as the front runner, or he's the next guy in line to go after whoever it is that Trump picks as his running mate if Trump does win. So I just wanted to report to you guys out there that are here in the United States or in a country where your voting hasn't happened yet and people are not getting tired of what's going on and voting people out because it's not time. Just know that people around the world are tired of all of this craziness that's going on, that is destroying nations, breaking nations, banks, putting people into poverty everywhere. And, the cost of living has gone up by 30, 40, 50% in every category around the world. It's not just in the United States, not just where you are, wherever it is that you live. It's happening in every country that these people have gotten in control of. So I just wanted to let you guys know that things are changing. People are tired of it, and there is this change that is coming that we've been promising. And I'm not saying we as in like I'm part of the Republican Party in the United States, because I'm not. I'm talking about we as in the coalitions who are trying to free this world from this tyranny of this specific way of life, which is identical in every country, no matter what you call those parties. There is a progressive and a conservative party in every country. There's only a two-party system, and that's what you have. Unless you have a dictatorship and already you're living in a communist regime, then there's one single party, like in Russia, and the guy's been in charge for 25 years. He's going to be in charge until he dies. Same thing happening in China with Xi. Same thing with Kim Jong, whatever number he is, whatever name he is, Fingling Dop, whatever his name is, over in Korea. To where he's in charge because his father was in charge, and he'll stay in charge until he dies. And I don't even know if he has any kids right now, but he'll get a successor. So I just want to let you guys know that the things that are being done around the world are making a difference, and the people have gotten tired of all of this. And so they're voting these people out, and you're going to see some countries that are going to go into civil wars if these people don't leave. And you're going to see that happening, but you have to be careful where you get the information from, because they're not letting you have the information inside this country, and probably in most countries you don't know what I'm talking about, because you may not know of any of this unless you live in a country where you know that it's actually happening. So if you're in a place where you don't know what's happening, just know that people are getting tired of everything and they're taking back control, which is going to exponentially continue to happen on this planet until eventually by 2032 at the latest, maybe a little bit after that, not much. There's going to be a big change on this planet as far as the ideology of this system that has been in charge and these evil people have been running. So they're desperate at this point to have to start a world war as soon as they can, because they need everybody to forget about this stuff. Stop looking at that. Worry about some big, great evil that they're propping up, so that you guys will then join the militaries and die, and they can just start blowing things up everywhere and kill off as many people as they can to get everybody to recycle. That's their end game, and it always has been. We're aware of this. But we don't talk about it much because it scares people when we say these things. So I'm just telling you because you need to be aware that that's what their plan is. Their plan is to eradicate you. And that what they're doing right now, because they haven't been able to kill off everybody, is they're convincing everyone that it's better to not have children. So literally for the first time in the history of this planet, right now, we are now losing more people than we are having born on the earth. In every country on the planet, it is literally more people dying. Now, I know that the greatest generation that ever lived, the baby boomers, are going to cause some of that anyways, because there were so many of them that propped up in the 40s and 50s that they outnumber all the other generations, right? So but that's factored into what we're talking about and what's going on. Literally, when you poll people, like the people who follow the progressive parties in all of your countries, They don't want to get married. They don't want to have children because they've been brainwashed to believe that the nuclear family, the family of a family of having men and women, or even just parents having children, even if it's 2 men or 2 women, it doesn't matter. That is toxic, and they don't want to have any part of it. And people are saying this world is going to hell in a handbasket. Why should I have kids? So they're not having any children. And this is happening worldwide because it's been part of their modus operandi, because they can't just kill everybody off. So they're lowering the population by making sure that people don't want to breed. Well, the difference now is that the Gen Z, this new generation that is just now in their 20s and moving into their 30s. So Gen X and Gen Z, or Gen Y and Gen Z, not Gen X because I'm Gen X, Gen Y and Gen Z, especially Gen Z, they're ignoring this, and they're seeing it as the society doesn't want us to have kids and get married. So we're going to get married and have kids because we're fucking rebels. So we're going to do that. So that's a good thing, because this generation that is now coming through and coming up is ignoring this stuff and seeing through it and saying, nope, we're going to do it anyways. So you guys should be aware of this stuff. But if you don't know what's going on and you don't have access to people in other countries to have them tell you what's happening there, then you don't know what's going on. And that's why I'm telling you this stuff. Okay. So yeah, Denise said, yes, I'm seeing a lot more not getting married and having no children. That's the generation behind us, Denise. So we're Generation X. You're a little bit older than me, but I don't think you're much older than me. So I think you're still like me, on the cusp of Gen X, right? We're the beginning of Gen X. So Gen Y, everybody that's millennials, they're all bought into it, brainwashed. They're all in their 30s now. They're in their 20s, late 20s, early 30s. They don't want to have any part of it because they have all been indoctrinated by the school system and the colleges. So it's the next before that that is not wanting to do it. And Gen X, I mean, look, we're in our 50s, so we're grandparents now, so we've already had our kids. But it's the grandkids that are now coming up, and they're going, screw that. So our kids are not wanting to get married. The grandkids that are coming up, and the generation after that is going and wanting to be like, like us, and ignoring the system and going, screw those guys, we're going to have kids. So that's a good sign. But I wanted to give you guys that update because I don't feel that the information gets out there enough. So if you're listening to my voice around the world, send this around to your friends. Let them hear it. You don't have to watch the entire show today, but send it around to your friends so they can hear this dialogue in the beginning, this first 15 minutes of this, because it's important information that people need to know what's going on in the world, because there's just not enough people out there telling you this kind of stuff. Even the people that are trying to tell you things. I don't want to get too involved in this because I don't want to stay on this subject. I want to get to the law of one this week, because last week I stayed completely talking about survival, and I don't want to do that again this week, unless I'm going to change the curriculum of my show, and then I'm going to only talk about that and not spirituality, and I don't want to do that. I used to do that back when I first started Orion Rising. I had Orion Rising News, and I talked about politics and things like that during 2016, 2017, 2018, going into COVID, 2019, 2020. Into 2021, I did the spirituality, but I also talked about COVID and blew the whistle and the coalitions and things were going on in the world. As things go, I may be intermittently doing that because of this ramp up and what's going on. So just know that. But I won't be focusing completely on that. Okay. So, and if I do, it'll be a separate show that I'll be doing on a different day. So I'll be doing spirituality, and then I'll be doing something else. When the coalition, when we get the platform up, we'll have pages for that, to where you can go and look at all that information, and then spirituality on another page and stuff like that. Okay. So, all right. So let's go ahead. So you guys said that you guys hear the law of one. Fine. So let me go ahead and continue with that. We'll get right into session 53 of the law of one. But like I said, share this out, share this out, share this out, right? It's Friday night. Get this out to the world. Share this out to your friends. Share this out to tag your friends. Get it out to different places around the universe. I'm live on YouTube. I'm live on Facebook, and I'm live on X, formerly known as Twitter. All right. So let's continue. Jake, welcome. Right, Jake said hello, everybody. So welcome. Yeah, if you say something in the chat, I know you're here. And Cody, hi, by the way. I forgot to say hi. If you don't say anything in the chat, I just see numbers and I just know that people are listening, and that's it. So let's get into the law of one. Okay, let's get back to the question and move into that and stay on point of spirituality for the rest of the show, unless something crazy happens, right? Let's continue.
I would like to ask you, when you say that fourth, fifth, and sixth densities of other galaxies, and some within your own galaxy, are you stating here that more of the entities in other galaxies have developed the abilities of personality than have in this galaxy for this type of, shall I say, travel? I am using the term galaxy with respect to the lenticular shape of 250 billion stars. Ra, I am Ra. We have once again used a meaning for this term, galaxy, that does not lie within your vocabulary at this time, if you will call it so. We referred to your star system. It is incorrect to assume that other star systems are more able to manipulate the dimensions than your own. It is merely that there are many other systems besides your own. 52.2 Questioner, thank you. I think that possibly I am on an important point here, because it seems to me that the great
Sorry, I said 53 and it's 52, right? Unless I messed up. I mean, we're on 52 and then I recognize these questions. We'll go, and if I get to a point where I realize, wait, we already covered this a couple of weeks ago, then I'll jump over to the next session, but I believe we're actually on 52.
work in evolution is the discipline of personality, and it seems that we have two types of moving around the universe, one stemming from disciplines of personality, and the other stemming from what you call the slingshot effect. I won't even get into the sublight speeds because I don't consider that too important. And I only consider this material important with respect to the fact that we are investigating discipline of the personality. Does the use of the slingshot effect for travel, is that a what you might call an intellectual or a left brain type of involvement of understanding rather than a right brain type? Ra, I am Ra. Your perception on this point is extensive. You penetrate the outer teaching. We prefer not to utilize the terminology of right and left brain due to the inaccuracies of this terminology. Some functions are repetitive or redundant in both lobes, and further, to some entities the functions of the right and left are reversed. However, the heart of the query is worth some consideration. The technology of which you, as a social complex, are so enamored at this time is but the birthing of the manipulation of the intelligent energy of the sub-logos which, when carried much further, may evolve into technology capable of using the gravitic effects of which we spoke. We note that this term is not accurate, but there is no closer term. Therefore, the use of technology to manipulate that outside the self is far less of an aid to personal evolution than the disciplines of the mind/body/spirit complex, resulting in the whole knowledge of the self in the microcosm and macro-cosm. To the disciplined entity, all things are open and free. The discipline which opens the universes opens also the gateways to evolution. The difference is that of choosing either to hitchhike to a place where beauty may be seen or to walk, step by step, independent and free, in this independence to praise the strength to walk and the opportunity for the awareness of beauty. The hitchhiker, instead, is distracted by conversation and the vagaries of the road and, dependent upon the whims of others, is concerned to make the appointment in time. The hitchhiker sees the same beauty but has not prepared itself for the establishment, in the roots of mind, of the experience. 52.
Okay, so before we get to the next question, so literally right here, Ra is referring to, right, I love Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That was actually kind of based on that ideology. You guys should read that book or watch the movie. The book's so much better, but it's almost identical to the movie. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is pretty badass. So, cult classic, came out of England. So he's referring to, because Dawn is talking about the slingshot, which you saw in like the Star Trek movies where they went back in time to 1989, where they slingshotted around the sun, went right at the sun, deviated from the sun, got caught in the sun's gravitational pull, and whipped around the sun and shot back, and picking up speed in doing so. There's a lot of science. There was a TV series that didn't last long that came out of England. I forgot what it was called now, and the people were trying to get on board these spaceships and go to like Mars and colonize different planets, and there was some craziness that the government was up to, and there was basically a civil war on Earth that they were unaware of, and it was a really good TV series, but it was too close to reality, involved in the sciences, and because of that, the only real nerds actually got what they were doing. So I don't think that they're having a second season, which is too bad because it was really good. Right? But then you have the Lazarus Project, which is more of an advanced theory, also coming out of England. They're on season 2 that just started last week. I haven't seen the first episode yet. You guys should take a look at the Lazarus Project. And that's based on wormholes in literally in fact, if you've never watched it, I'm not going to tell you about it because you don't learn about it right away, and that kind of messes things up and it'll blow your mind. So I'm not going to give you the synopsis, but there's a secret organization. I can tell you this part: secret organization that is trying to keep the world from coming to an end. And it has to do with traveling time and all kinds of craziness that you guys should take a look at. It's called the Lazarus Project, and season 2 literally just started last week. And you guys should look into that because it's really cool. A lot more advanced in ideology of the expansion of people's ideology of traveling through space and time. The reason that I bring this up is because of what Ra is saying, because you have to think that 1981 was when, so the leading ideology in 1981 for traveling long distances was the slingshot method in the standard practice of science. Don, being a physicist at the time, literally would be, that was in his mind the most advanced technology and ideology of moving through space. Ra had mentioned in the last session, which we didn't play last week, but we played the week before, or maybe the week before that, about traveling without moving, going through these Einstein-Rosen bridges, these wormholes that are part of the universe and the way things work in the universe, that neural network of the universe that people can tap into and travel faster than light and move from one place to another without moving, which was a theory that I told you about that Frank Herbert was on to when he did the Dune saga, the Dune books, and the Dune saga, where they were able to fold space. And the Einsteinian-Rosen bridge is basically the same concept of folding space and creating that bridge. And it was Einstein and Rosen who came up with the theory. So they called it Einsteinian-Rosen bridge. And that was traveling from one place in space to another place in space without moving from one place to another by, now my mother's trying to take off a Band-Aid that I put on. So hold on, I'll be right back. I got to stop her from doing this. Leave that, mother. Leave it. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. Put your foot down. Stop that. Watch TV. Stop that. Leave it alone. Okay, so today's going to be a short session. I can see that happening because my mother's having one of those moments. I could have done this show at any other time during the day. She was staring at television. But now that I'm sitting here, earlier she was playing with her shoe. I had put a Band-Aid on her leg because she scratched herself till she was bleeding yesterday. So the Band-Aid is on there, and now it's starting to heal, so it's itching. So now she's reaching down and finding it. She's going to go after it again. She's trying to take the Band-Aid off, which means that I will be ending the show very soon unless my mother gets, for some reason, interested in television. If she doesn't, then I'm going to have to, because I'm going to have to be taking care of her. So I apologize for that. She has these, she's 80 and she has dementia. So to her, everything is the now. She is, so I apologize for that, right? So Denise said, Leo, was the TV show called The Expanse? I don't know if, no, it wasn't. That was a good show too, The Expanse, because that also was based on, some of these TV shows and movies were based on algorithms that were bringing up, like The Expanse was they literally opened a wormhole and they were able to travel to a different dimension. And that's based on theory as well. As that movie with George Clooney, where that was also based on the same thing, and I forgot the name of it. And they were able to go through this expanse and go to another place. And they were worried because they had this algorithm that looked into the future and saw that the human race was going to die, destroying itself in a few years. So, and it was like in 20 years or so. And so they created this other place where they were able to go to. But of course, just like 2012, they were only allowing the rich and the elite to go there, and all the rest of the people were being left behind. George Clooney's character, when he was a kid, as a genius, he was basically left there and was living his life paying attention to it and tracking the algorithm and trying to figure out how to stop it. And so that movie was a great movie too. And The Expanse was another one. And then they had La Brea, which only did 2 or 3 seasons and also got canceled. And La Brea was the same concept where they were opening wormholes in the sky or on land, and that was creating this gateways, and they were going through the gateways, and they didn't realize that while doing that, the opening one wormhole was creating a gateway in another place at another time, because they were messing with the 3, 6, and 9 like the Atlanteans did. And what happened is La Brea, by the La Brea tar pits, opened up into a big pit. A bunch of people from LA fell in the pit, and they ended up back in time 40,000 years, 40,000 BC. So that would have been 42,000 years ago. And they were trying to figure out how to get back to our time. And they found out that there was U.S. military back there in a military base, because that was where they set up the military base, and they were moving back and forth through time. And because of doing that, it was opening up wormholes to different times, and they were trying to jump through some of them. And so again, the expansion of people's consciousness into the possibility of traveling instantaneously from one place to another without moving, literally just stepping through, like the wormhole in the concept of Stargate and Stargate SG-1, the television series that came out of that, and Stargate Atlantis, and what was the other one? There was like 3 series that came out of that, where literally you would step through a wormhole and you would instantly travel. Like in the very first movie, they went to Abydos, which was literally on the other side of the known universe. And they just traveled there, and it took them like 10 seconds where they were going through the wormhole. You were seeing the wormhole. And that came out in the late 80s, early 90s, I think. So the expansion of people's consciousness with forward thinking from these theories of these wormholes exponentially had people looking into and starting these theories that are now coming to fruition, of people realizing this knowledge. Raw's talking about that here, but Don, when he talked about these wormholes, Don was talking about slingshotting, and he was focusing on that because that's all he knew. He wasn't realizing that Don had already mentioned, or that Raw had already mentioned, that they talked about traveling without moving. And Einstein already had their theory of the Rosen Bridge, because that was in the 40s. So that theory was already there, but they just, science was already trying to say that it didn't work. Now, coming forward at a time, the ideology of Terrence Howard and a few other people, and he's talking about gravity and using that right now, and he made that comment, but their ideas are going even further. I wish Stephen Hawking were still alive, because he didn't have egg on his face, because I didn't think Stephen Hawking, he spent his entire life talking about dark matter, which was something they invented to make up the idea of the ether, and they don't know what it is, even though the Egyptians and the Romans and especially the Greeks knew about the ether and science way back 5,000, 6,000 years ago, even though they believed the earth was flat, which is what hindered them into what was going on. And that's why Terrence Howard now realizes that. And what's his name? I can't think of his name right now. I was just talking to Stephanie about it. She's the one that linked his video, and I realized that I've been looking at his math for 6 months and not knowing what his full name was. He was just knighted 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago in Portugal, in the Roman Catholic Church in Portugal. So, and I was knighted by the Roman Catholic Church in Rome in 2004, 2002. It was the day that Pope John Paul II died. I was standing in the parking lot in my outfit, my tuxedo, getting ready to go in and be knighted. We were assembling. There was 140 of us, 142 of us. We were assembling to go in. We were everybody in the northern hemisphere of the planet being knighted that year. We're out here, like 5 miles from where I'm actually sitting right now, up here in Roseville. We were going to be knighted. It was the largest knighting at one time in the United States, or around the world, for that matter. I don't know if there's been any larger since, but I was a part of that, and I was being knighted that day, and we were all standing in the parking lot, and all of a sudden we didn't have smartphones. Cell phones and Blackberries and pagers started ringing for everybody, and everybody was finding out that the Pope just died, and then they came out and announced it, and we did a prayer and all that, and then went on with the ceremony. But those of us lucky enough to be knighted on that day are now knighted on the feast of his passing, as he's been canonized in this reality in 2017. Because the one that I came from a year ago now, or is it 2 years ago now, in May, it was, I think it's a year or two now in May, he hadn't been canonized yet. And I got here and was like, wait a minute, what? Somebody mentioned, I was like, when did this happen? Like 2017. How did I not know about this? That was something that I was waiting for to happen, because then I would be knighted on the day of his canonization, or because they always, whatever day you die is when they become all the saints' day. And I'm like, 2017? I'm like, I just found this out in 2023. I'm like, are you kidding me? How is that possible that I didn't know that the Pope, who was the one who pulled the Knights of Columbus back into the order and made them the only official holy order of the Roman Catholic Church, and so he was a very, very prominent to us knights, and I got knighted on the day he died, and it turned out he was canonized. So I know that that's part of the reality that I came from, that I know of my heart being over here and my chest not in the center, and my kidneys are not up underneath my ribs right over here. They're down just above my butt crack on the lower back. If you remember that, then your chances are you came with the shift. And it wasn't CERN. Okay, so yeah, 2 years ago now, Leo. Yes, thank you, Penny. It was 2 years ago, right? So literally, that some things changed. That was one of the things that I noticed that changed in that shift when we came here. He was knighted in 2017, and the reality that I was in 2023, before that happened in May, he was not knighted yet, or not knighted. He was not canonized, so he was not a saint. So even though I got knighted on the day that he died, he wasn't yet a saint. And then all of a sudden I woke up and someone was talking about it. I was like, when did this change? Must have been during that change on that May date of 2 years ago. Okay. 2 years ago, just this last May, we're in June. So literally the expansion of the consciousness of the people. And this is what Ra's talking about. Ra made the correlation. Now know that if you guys don't know who I am, know that I was going to be a physicist. I literally, my IQ is higher than Einstein's to this day. I'm not lying about that. It's literally higher than that. And I think that Einstein was wrong. And I was going to prove that when I was 18 years of age. I was already talking about it. And a professor who taught physics, when he asked me, and I didn't know he was a professor, what makes you think that you know more than Einstein? I'm like, because he's wrong. He thinks that the only thing that's faster than the speed of light is tachyons, which is a theoretical particle like dark matter. It's just been made up to literally invent a way for this a strange ideology, which we know is true in the universe. And you'll see where I'm going with this, because I'm getting on to the traveling without moving. That particles, they have found, observed that some particles are connected to another particle. And if you make a change to this one particle, it changes the other particle instantaneously, no matter the distance. So if they're 1,000 miles away, 10,000 miles away, they somehow instantaneously change. And that means that the change is being transmitted from one particle or one entity to the other one faster than the speed of light. And the theory up until the idea of tachyons was that nothing moved faster than the speed of light. Tachyons, the theory that Einstein had was that they travel actually backwards in time. Antimatter, whereas where we get dark matter and antimatter from, was invented by this theoretical particle called a tachyon. Okay, and then they had string theory, where they thought that the string was attaching these, and they weren't too far off, because the neural network that is the universe, they now know, and I have pictures of this on the beginning of my show. If you're watching the MP4 file, watch the video during the music, and there's a picture that shows you the brain cell and the universe, and it's the same radial image of both. So you have a microscopic radial image of a brain cell and a macroscopic a radial image of the universe, and it has the same neural pathways. Now, why is that important? Because we know that, the ancient aliens guys know that aliens from other places have told them that there is this neural network that transmits. This is the tree of life, by the way. It's the neural network of the universe, which is identical to our physiological endocrine system in our body, or literally our nervous system. So the nervous system of the tree of life, Yggdrasil, or any of the other trees of life, is that representation. And the Yggdrasil, the Vikings show it represented as a physical tree, right? Literally with a trunk and branches. And then you have all the seven chakras involved in the seven worlds. And then you have the tree of life from the Egyptians and the Hebrews, that are basically the same tree, but it's just lines drawn instead of having the outline of a tree. It's lines drawn, and there are 10. And if you look at the Viking tree of life, there's actually 10, because you have Bifrost, the rainbow bridge, which connects the third dimension to the crown chakra, by the way, or the third eye chakra, going to Valhalla. And that is the chakra colors, again, which I'm writing about in my current book that I'm currently writing. The other one that hopefully will be out, that I'm publishing, will be out in a couple of months. But what I'm currently writing is this correlation. So the tree of life has been represented by everybody. They know it. They know it's the Vesica Pisces. They know that the yin and yang is the Vesica Pisces. They know that it's the Vitruvian man. They know this, but that was far back in history. And now we've lost that information. This is why I'm writing the second book, which at this point is being titled The Old Ways. And literally traveling from one place to another is to going into this neural network. And this neural network travels faster than light, faster than time, faster than space, faster than this, because it's outside of the bounds of this third dimensional reality. This is what Ra is referring to here when he just said that. I'm going to back up his statement before we start the next question so that you can hear that one more time, him saying that. Let me see where we are here. I back this up. Let me see where it is here. We'll press play.
Instead, is distracted by conversation and the vagaries of the road, and, dependent upon the whims of others, is concerned to make the appointment in time. The hitchhiker sees the same beauty but has not prepared itself for the establishment, in the roots of mind, of the experience. 52.
Okay, so at this point, he's referring to the hitchhiker, and the hitchhiker is the person that is hitchhiking on that neural network, but he's also saying that the hitchhiker is not aware consciously of the ramifications of this. We're aware of the concept of moving into wormholes, like in the Star Trek or in Star Wars, where they're traveling translight or faster than light, and they're going into warp, which is going into a wormhole, and you see everything going, and you're moving really fast. But warp is traveling at light speed, or beyond light, transwarp, meaning faster than light, but it still takes time for the physical ship to get there. And it wasn't until the Star Trek movie that J.J. Abrams was making, where they were trying to figure out, because they, in the storyline of Star Trek, Scotty, Montgomery Scott was able to transport people while they were in warp, and he was trying to figure that out, and there was a time differential, time shift, and Spock had come back from the future and was now in the past, and he gets hooked up with Kirk from the past, and they're trying to get back on board the Enterprise, and it's traveling at warp, and they go and find Scotty, or they actually went to go and get off this rock they were on, and they found Scotty there and went, interesting. And they said, let's bring Scotty with us, and he's the one who figured that out. So Scotty was saying there's no way we can transport as fast, during light speed, because they're traveling faster than light. And Spock gave him this computation, and he said, wow, I never thought of it as if it's not the ship that's moving, it's space. That was the expansion of people's consciousness to the idea of moving without moving. That space is the thing, the physical plane is the thing that's moving, not you. You, once you expand your consciousness, and this is what Ra is talking about, to become the hitchhiker. That's why I brought up the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The hitchhiking on, or piggybacking on these neural networks, is the way that everybody travels. Aliens have come to Earth and have said that the reason that they all started showing up here after the first detonation of the first nuclear explosion was that the nuclear explosion itself travels backward on that neural pathway. And that is what allows other races that are far more advanced to know that a race of people somewhere in the universe have reached a certain level of technology. And then they come to investigate where they're at and see if they're spiritually able to not blow themselves up. Okay, then they travel, and they've been telling people of Earth that they travel on that neural network, but they also, or that they communicate on that, and they travel on that. So as you ascend in the species, moving into the fourth and especially the fifth dimension, because that is 5D, you then expand the consciousness and starts here into the concept, and you start looking into trying to tap into this neural network. So we're just now on this earth starting to theoretically expand our consciousness without the applied, expanding our consciousness to this neural network. However, the technology already exists, and this is where Ra was referring to using technology at first to piggyback and not understanding the ramifications or the spiritual, that you don't need the physical to move from one place to another, that you can do that astrally, and we're expanding our consciousness down that road as well. Okay, and so this is literally, so I'm going to play this one more time. Let me back it up again, and then we'll continue forward. I'm going to back it up a little bit more this time than I did last time, okay? And let's play this, and you'll see what I'm saying, and then we'll just go to the next question.
COSM. To the disciplined entity, all things are open and free. The discipline which opens the universes opens also the gateways to evolution. The difference is that of choosing either to hitchhike to a place where beauty may be seen, or to walk, step by step, independent and free, in this independence to praise the strength to walk and the opportunity for the awareness of beauty. The hitchhiker, instead, is distracted by conversation and the vagaries of the road, and, dependent upon the whims of others, is concerned to make the appointment in time. The hitchhiker sees the same beauty but has not prepared itself for the establishment, in the roots of mind, of the experience. 52.3 Questioner. I would ask this question in order to understand the mental disciplines and how they evolve. Do 4th dash, 5th dash, and 6th density positive or service to others orientation social memory complexes use both the slingshot and the personality discipline type of effect for travel, or do they use only one? Ra. I am Ra. The positively oriented social memory complex will be attempting to learn the discipline.
I'm looking at the chat because I didn't have my glasses on. No, it wasn't Gravity. Gravity was, well, that was a good movie too. It was before that. And it was something Land, and I can't think of the name of it now, but it was something Land. Look up George Clooney and you'll see what I'm talking about. Denny said George Clooney movie, Gravity. No, that was a good movie too, but it wasn't the movie that I was referring to. So Cody, I apologize. Cody said, my husband said he was going to leave because I believe you. Talking about me. Go, dude, I believe. Right. So yeah, sorry, Cody. If he's literally threatening that he's going to leave over an idea, saying, okay, that man's crazy and I'm going to leave you if you believe him, then he's desperate and he has no fight. He can't argue. If he wants to argue, he can contact me and we can have discussions. So he's not willing to do that. He is obviously going, that's it. I'm killing myself. I'm going to kill the kids. I'm taking the kids from you. He's coming up with what people who are in service to self come up with as an argument. If you either turn that off or I'm leaving. And then the next level is, I'm going to kill myself if you don't come with me. If you do that, I can't believe that you. Distraction away from any possible ideology that is expanding your consciousness. Why would somebody say they're going to leave you because you're listening to what someone says, right? Unless they're already indoctrinated into something. And then if he's indoctrinated, like say he's indoctrinated into Christianity, which I am a minister in 2 different religions in Christianity, actually have the titles. And if that's the case, then he thinks I'm, the devil or demons, or I'm, possessed. Because that's the indoctrination to keep you from learning anything. Who was it that just said to me, was it Stephanie just said to me, she's not here right now that I've seen, but she just said to me that she was in church and the pastor in the church said not to follow your heart because your heart is going to mislead you and lead you into sin because it wants sin. So the church is telling you that your heart is ego. And that ego wants sin, and your heart only is going to lead you astray and not lead you to something good. That's the Christian church that literally just told her that. Okay, so you have to understand that the tactics that these people are getting desperate and they're starting to use because they just have nothing to argue about. They can't defend it. They go, coincidence, you're making it up. I'm going to get that kind of backlash as soon as my books come out. People listen to me now. So he thinks I'm crazy. Right. And most people do. They think I'm crazy. It's all right. You just have to, figure out what you're going to do in life. I think that he's concerned that you're expanding your consciousness and that you're going to outgrow him. So he's trying to stop you from growing. He's holding you back. I'm not telling you that you should leave him. I'm telling you, you should tell him that what I'm just saying to you. Hey, listen, Don't try to hold me back just because somebody's telling me something you don't agree with. That's the ideology that they brainwash you with right now, that if you don't follow the Christian or the progressive agenda right now, that you are literally evil, you're a bigot, you're a racist, and you're a white supremacist, and that you need to be brainwashed. They're like, literally, we're talking about Hillary Clinton at one point said we need to round these people up and recondition their brains. So they were literally talking about taking anyone who didn't agree with them politically and putting them in concentration camps and brainwashing them, or literally using drugs to wipe out their memory and give them new memories that are conducive with what they think. Think about that. That literally was brought up on national television by multiple people in this country right after January 6th. Lock up half of this country. Until someone said, you do realize that most of those people have all the guns, right? And they will go to war and have a civil war here, and you have no training in how to survive off the grid, so you can't turn off their money, and you have no training in how to, and you can't get anything to eat. And they will be able to eat because they're hunters and fishermen and planting crops. And by the way, they all have guns, and they're used to camping out in the wild, and none of us can do any of that. So all of a sudden that went away quickly. You see, otherwise they would have tried to do it. If they could have taken control of this country, they need to get rid of the guns first. This is why it's vital for people to continue to have their guns. In every country where they took away the guns or limited them, they've locked down 5 times stronger than they have tried in the United States. Look at Canada. Look at Australia. Okay. Do you see my point? So if he's telling you these things, then you have to decide what you're going to do in your life, whether you're going to take it from him or whether you're going to go and figure out your life. You need to figure that out, because call his bluff, because otherwise, what are you going to do? Right? Do you have to listen to that every time I speak and you're listening and he hears me? Do you see my point? So you got to figure out what you're going to do with him if he's not willing to in any way try to think outside the box and thinks that I'm just crazy and is telling you that you need to stop listening to me. Do you know how many times that happens in people's lives? My ex-wife, both of my ex-wives gave me an ultimatum because I was about this, and I was about politics, and I was about trying to free the planet of tyranny from these people that are trying to control the world. My first wife, when I was in my early 20s, and even after that, was annoyed because I wouldn't stop and smell the roses, and that my ass was up politics' head, or my ass was up spirituality's head. And she blew up and had a wingding. You can ask anybody that was there 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when we did the Earth Day thing, and she blew up because everybody wanted to change the name of a chat room that we created for Earth Day, and didn't involve her because she didn't, when we said, hey, get in here because everybody's going to vote on changing the name, she was occupied and didn't show up. And when she did, it was already changed. She blew up on me and said that it was my fault, and said that I was lying, cheating, stealing, that I was a liar and possessed by the devil, and you name it. She said it about me, and then she left. Okay. Then my second wife, back in 2016, the same thing happened. She said, I can't share you with the world. I'm not going to share you with the world. I want you for me, and I'm not going to share you with the world because of this bullshit that you're talking about with spirituality and trying to save the world. And I know that you're not going to choose me, so I'm leaving. You need to get out. I'm selling our house. Goodbye. Have a nice life. So I left. Moved onto my yacht, was living there until I came up here and saw that my parents were having problems, moved in to take care of them. Both of them had dementia. My stepfather died 6 months after I got here, or 4 months. I got here in October. He died in February. Right. And so then I've been taking care of my mom ever since. Got rid of my yacht, been living with my mother to take care of her. But do you see, they gave me the choice. And then since then, I've talked to both of those ex-wives, and both of them still won't have any part of me because I'm doing this, and they know that this is my mission, and that means that I won't share. They don't want to share me with the world. So they gave me this ultimatum that I'm supposed to not do any of this so that I could live a mundane life with them. And I said, that's not why I came here, and I'm not going to do it. Apparently I did it in my past life, in the one directly before this one. So I don't know if it was one or two or both of those women who convinced me to do that, or I was just angry with the universe and said, screw it, I'm not doing it. But that's apparently what they told me that I did. And I haven't looked at that life to find out if it was any of them that caused me to do it. right? Be careful what you wish for because you might get it. So I still respect both of these women now in this life. And if I look back and found out they're the reason, one of them or both was the reason that I took off my entire last life and they're still trying to do it in this life, I would be angry at them for making me lose an entire lifespan of however long I lived in that lifetime. If I lived 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 100 years, whatever it was, I literally was not helping this world for that entire lifetime. And I'm not going to do it in this lifetime, no matter who is going to try and stop me from doing it. So I've made that decision. So any person says to me, you need to make a choice. I'm going to say, I'm going fishing, pack your shit. When I get back, I expect you to be gone. Okay. Because I'm not going to do that. I'm going to. So my point is that some people start trying to give you these ultimatums because they're acting like an 11-year-old child. So they're trying to give you 11-year-old, that's it, I'm taking the ball and I'm leaving. And you better come with me or I'm telling, and they start acting like kids. Literally, I mean, to the point where he's telling you, turn me off, right? Because he thinks I'm crazy. And then he says, I'm leaving if you continue to listen to that guy. Okay, you got to decide what you got to do. So if you're relying on him 100% and without him, you can't survive where you are, you need to realize that and start making decisions in your life to decide what you want to do with your life. Okay. Do you need him? Right. I don't know him personally because he's never spoken to me, but I do know that he thinks I'm crazy. Most of my family thinks I'm crazy. I'm used to people on this earth thinking that I am crazy. I'm used to it. And when my books come out, more people are going to be aware of me. And there's going to be a good portion of this planet who, because everybody is 11 years of age mentally, not everyone, not 100%, because some of us not, but the average person is 11 years old mentally. You can look that up. Okay. So they're children, not adults. And that's been done to this planet by these evil people. And they're keeping all of that information from you. And those of us around the world are now blowing the lid off of that exponentially. And that's going to change literally the face of this world, whether anyone likes it or not, whether evil people like it or not. They have no say. They can't stop it anymore. Okay. So I apologize to him if the things that I'm saying are making him get even more angry about me because he doesn't know enough to be paying attention. And if he wants, I can talk to him and we can figure this out. I can give him the skinny, but if he's indoctrinated, he won't listen. And he's going to be, no, crazy, evil, demon, devil, out. And that's what he's going to do. And then I tell him, try to, literally, if you believe that, then you should be able to use your religion to make me disappear without having to say to somebody, I'm leaving if you don't turn him off. So, because if I'm possessed by the devil, you should be able to exorcise me with your religion. Try it and see what happens. I'll go live with you and you can do your stuff and use the old ancient Roman rite of calling out the devil and demon that's inside me. And you'll find that I'll just be sitting like this. Because I do not have a demon inside of me. I do not have the devil speaking in my ear. Okay. So then if you think I'm just crazy because of the words that I'm saying, prove it. I tell people this all the time. Don't believe a word I've said. Go down these rabbit holes on your own. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. I'll put you on the air. You can tell the world how I'm crazy and how you know it. And we can discuss that. Right. And no one has ever taken me up on that because when you start going down that road, on your own, you start posing more and more questions and you start finding more and more things out. So to your man who's claiming that he's going to leave you if you don't stop listening to me, look it up. Look up any part of what I've said to you that you think I'm crazy. Look it up. And when you do, and you prove that I'm crazy because you found the answer, let me know. Okay? Let me know. And then we'll talk about that answer. All right? And that's just the way it works. So I apologize that if you're still here, Cody, I apologize that you're going through that and that your man is saying those things too. You guys need to give up alcohol so you stop having fights, by the way. I'm an alcoholic. I used to drink every single day. I drank a half gallon of vodka or gin every 3 days and a 12 pack of ale. So not beer, but a 12 pack of ale that was like, 7 to 15% alcohol. I would drink 2 of those and alcohol and drinks. And I did that until 2 years ago, last March, and I gave up drinking. So I know what it means to be drinking when you shouldn't be, or anything else for that matter. I used to also be on drugs. Okay. Right, Reese said they think we're crazy because it makes them question their reality, and that's great. I'm going to put you up on the screen, Reese, because I love what you just said. For those of you around the world, I'll read that again to you. But those of you who are watching on the MP4 broadcast, you can see it up on the bottom of your screen. They think we're crazy, and then he put the little crazy face with the tongue sticking out, because it makes them question their reality. It's great, okay? So that's the truth of that. When it makes them uncomfortable when I move people into a place that is outside your comfort zone, which is what I do on purpose, pulling people out of their comfort zone on purpose to get them into that place where they don't feel comfortable, where they start questioning their reality, just like Reese said. And we do that, right? And then they think we're crazy. It's okay because it makes them think. And that's why I said the same thing to him just now. Go and look it up. Right? Go down that rabbit hole, because knowledge is the key to the universe, and looking things up for yourself is going to spawn more questions and more questions and more questions. And as you start thinking for yourself and asking questions, you will break your own conditioning. That is the only way that it can happen. I cannot convince anyone of anything. This is a direct quote from Socrates from 6,000 years ago, or 5,500 to 6,500 years ago. I cannot force anyone to believe anything. The only thing I can hope to do is to get them to start thinking for themselves. And that's what they don't want you to do. They don't want you to be a free thinking person and think for yourself. They want you to fall in line of the way they're thinking. And if you don't, they cancel you, they shame you, they call you the devil, demons, they ban you from platforms to shut you up and stifle you from telling anyone else. Because then that's like a disease. If you tell someone else, then that infects them and they start asking questions. And you can't have that. That's the theory that they did in Stargate, the movie, which translated into Stargate SG-1, the television series, and then the other spinoffs from that, where literally in the movie, they opened up the Stargate and they sent a probe in. And so they realized that it went to somewhere else, and they tracked the probe and found that it went to this planet on the other side of the known universe. So they put together a team to go through the Stargate to the other side and see what was there. And if there was a danger to the human race, they were going to blow up the Stargate on the other side with a nuclear explosion and come back and then detonate it so that those people couldn't come through and invade America and the world, because they had theories and read about what had happened in Egypt back in the past. So they believed that there was these aliens and that they were called gods. Ra was one of them. So they went through the wormhole and found themselves in Abydos. Only now the humans that were there were still the same way the humans were here in Egypt 5,000 years ago. So they had no technology. Writing was banned. Learning how to read was banned, so that you couldn't learn anything and question anything and read anything from the past. So you had limited knowledge, only the knowledge that the god Ra was giving you. So the humans from our time showed up there, and with their guns and bombs and stuff, a small unit of about 5 or 6 guys, and made contact with the people there. And they took this scientist with them called Daniel Jackson. His name was Daniel Jackson. He was a linguist, and he was formidable in ancient Egyptian writing and language and history. So he was able to realize that it was the same culture and start to translate and realize that their language, he didn't know how to speak it very well because it hasn't been spoken in more than 1,000 years on our planet. But he was able to read it. So then he was able to start figuring it out and started talking to them. Well, then Ra shows up in his pyramid spaceship and lands, and they realize quickly that that's not a god. He's just some dude. And then it turns out it's a parasite inside the host. And they learn the history of that. And then a parasite got into the human and is occupying, possessing basically their body and moving their personality and mind over and controlling the body and keeping it alive for thousands of years. So because of that, they started infecting the other humans there with the possibility of, wait, there's other humans out there. And these guys seem to not be afraid of the gods, and they have all this technology. Ra's answer to that was to kill anyone who knew about them. Had to murder them all, had to kill them all. Because he knew that if they started thinking for themselves, they would question his being a god, and then the same thing that would happen on Abydos that happened on Earth, and that was the rebellion of the human race and overthrowing them. So the movie was based on that theory, and Ra was trying to kill the humans that got here from Earth, and he was trying to get a hold of their bomb and send it back to Earth to kill the people here on Earth so they couldn't come through, because now they were a threat to him and his reign over the rest of the galaxy, because now they found him again. And they were able to infect people. And then they were trying to kill everybody to shut them up that knew the knowledge, and they were killing some of the soldiers one by one, and they were fighting in resistance, and some of the kids rose up with them and were fighting against Ra. You should watch the movie. Whole television series was based on that entire ideology. But that's the answer. That is exactly what the progressives worldwide are doing to everyone else. They have to shut us up. And forever they've been killing us off, doing exactly what Ra did thousands of years ago, not the real one, but in this world of that movie and the television series from that alien race. They were actually called what were they called? I can't remember anymore. It's been so long since I watched that series. I can't remember the name, what the aliens were called. Okay, so literally, Woo Riders DJ, welcome. He said, hello from Florida. Hello, welcome to the show. Welcome to Orion Rising. So literally, that's the concept that people are doing in the progressives here on this planet, and anybody who's evil, that's their modus operandi. Okay, so now to get back to, because of the wormhole, let's go back on point about what Ra's talking about. We'll go to the next question. So Ra is trying to expand the consciousness of the people in 1981 to the possibility that there are wormholes, that there are this neural network that since 1981 to 1984, during the raw material, till now in 2024, exponentially science and physics has gotten more involved into the idea that there is this what we called, or what they called, Yggdrasil, the Vikings, the Tree of Life, and that I show you in the opening credits to this. When you look there, as like I said before, the image of the brain cell and the image of the universe, and how similar they are. They're identical, except for the universe has like maybe another billion neural pathways than the human brain cell, as below as so above, as within so without. So the universe itself appears to be like one single brain cell, identical on exponentially larger and more complicated than our brain cell. Okay, that's why I have that photo on that. So if you guys hear this, watch the beginning of the show and watch that 1 minute and 37-second video on the MP4 file, and you will see the images of Phi, the spiral in the universe, and how it is inherent in nature everywhere, including the stars and galaxies and oceans and our weather systems, our plants, us, everything. It's the building blocks for the universe itself. And then you'll see that translates into the neural network of the universe. And that literally has been talked about throughout time, including people talking to aliens when they've come here about how to travel without moving. And those concepts have come up in sci-fi movies, sci-fi books for the past 45 years, 50 years, some even further back, going 70 years back. Okay, so the expansion of the human race exponentially since 1981 has gotten us so far more advanced than in 1981, when Dawn is asking this question. His whole idea of traveling light speed is the slingshot method, which was in 1981 the only theory at the time that would explain the Einstein-Rosen bridge, Einstein and Rosen and their wormhole. And that was folding space over in a wormhole going between 2 points. So space that is supposed to be out here, from going to here to here, and then all of a sudden you have it going this way and it's going in between the two. And that was their theory, but they could never explain how they traveled or how that went. So they came up with first dark matter, and then they tried to say that black holes did that. To where you would go, if you went into a black hole, you would come out some other place in the universe, which still might be sound, by the way. But Then they had to come up with dark matter to explain the ether. And literally that goes back to Nikola Tesla, when all these people from Pythagoras all the way down to now trying to figure out the ether and whether it's mechanical or physical. And that when they try to prove it, they can't, because of viewer created reality. If you try to look at an object, if you take quarks, protons, neutrons, and atoms, and you move them from one place to another like light particles, this is the theory that goes back to the 80s. Before that, but in the 80s it was really popular. And you take you take a wall and you take something and you cut a couple slits in it and you shine the light on it, and the particles will hit that, and then they'll move around like a wave. So it's weird because light is not a wave. It's supposed to be energized particles that go in a straight line, yet it acts like, when there's a barrier, it moves out like a wave and goes through those little slits. So you can predict where a particle will go from beginning till end when it goes through those slits. But the second you try to observe that particle in between those places, it changes where the particle ends up every single time. So if you look at something, the act of looking at something, to do that, to illuminate it, gives it energy in some way by taking a picture or filming it, or you looking at it, changes its velocity and direction. So that has gotten science all screwed up, so that the bed of ether now, it moves. So even the solid objects are now acting like gases, and gases are acting like water. So you have this weird phenomenon that they couldn't explain. To explain that, to figure out this neural network of one particle being connected to another particle over distance, and that distance being the ether, what transmitted that information. So then they came up with the idea of the wormholes or string theory, of dark matter, things like that in the last 45 years. And none of those are accurate, but they're all expanding everyone's consciousness into the idea. Rawl then mentioned right at the end, talking about, or just prior to, I didn't go back far enough, the electromagnetic, or when he used the term gravity, because gravity is electromagnetic waveform, which is what goes on in our body every single month, where we have an electric charge on one nerve and a magnetic charge in the other nerve, and that oil that's charged with electricity and magnetism goes down our spine to the base of the spine, mixes together and becomes one energy that is electromagnetic wave energy in this oil, then goes back up your spine and charges through the chakras, and then goes up through the claustrum, where we get Santa Claus from, and goes to the pineal gland, or to the optic thalamus, and sits there dormant for 3 days. That's the crucifixion and the death, and then is resurrected. And when it amplifies over 1,000-fold. It amplifies in energy and illuminates every brain cell that you have, and illuminates your consciousness and raises your awareness, raises your consciousness, makes you smarter. And if you don't, eat of the tree of life during that time, no sex, no alcohol, no drugs, no crap food, and you meditate, and for that 3-day time period, which is happening to me currently, right now, it started Wednesday morning for me. I'm in California. Wednesday, it's at 0600 hours. So here we are on Friday. So I'm on day 2, 0600 hours this morning. So 2.5 days. So in truth, at 6 p.m. tonight, or somewhere around midnight, it'll be the end of that illumination. But I always go the 3 entire full days and make sure that I'm meditating and doing this. And then you have this illumination that happens, but it's subtle. Some people feel 1 or 2 and it's really big and they notice it. Most of the rest of the time is a little more subtle. So you don't feel like this smoke and crack. You don't get this high where you go, wow, man, this is cool. I got to do this every month. But it's accumulative over time. Okay. And that is the secret that people have known on this planet for thousands of years. How all of that works is that endocrine system that's in our body is, in fact, Yggdrasil. It is the tree of life. That is our neural network. The neural network of each individual cell is the same as our physical body, is the same as our solar system, is the same as our galaxy, is the same as our universe. And science is getting onto that now. And that's why I show you that radial image, because it's the same radial image. One is the microcosm and the other one is the macrocosm, one single brain cell and the universe that we live in. Okay. And they're identical. And the difference is ours is much simpler because we're way down here on the totem pole compared to the universe itself. but they're identical. And you could look at that image. So that neural network is how our brain thinks and how our nervous system works. Our endocrine system is our nervous system, our neural network that is in our brain, in our spinal column, that goes out to everything that controls everything that we do. It's identical to what's going on in one single cell. It's identical to what's going on in a solar system. It's identical to what's going on in the universe. They're identical. That freaks out science. But the neural network is the pathway that Ra is referring to here about the hitchhikers going onto that neural network and traveling from one place without moving. Communication is on there and it's free. Traveling is through there and it's free. Infinite energy, infinite everything, food, resources, all of that is in that neural network. We just have to tap into that ether and manifest it in this reality as something. Okay. And we have that ability because we are human, and humans are because of our soul being immortal. That it's because we are the universe. Okay. So let's continue with the next question.
Of mind, body, and spirit. However, there are some which, having the technology available to use intelligent energy forces to accomplish travel, do so while learning the more appropriate disciplines. 52.4 Questioner. Then I am assuming in the positively oriented social memory complexes that a much higher percentage of them use the personality disciplines for this travel. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct. As positive fifth density moves into sixth, there are virtually no entities which any longer use outer technology for travel or communication. 52.5 Question.
Do you see? So this is what I was saying, that we start the learning process here and moving under the concept of this. By the time you're in the fifth, going into the sixth, people aren't physically moving anywhere anymore. Your body is already disappearing. By the time you're in the fifth, going into the sixth, you're almost completely all light energy anyways. So you have transitioned away from the physical plane. You no longer believe this is all there is, and you start moving into the astral, to the soul, and because you realize that is who you are. I am not the thinking mind. I am not the physical body. I'm not the pain body. I'm not the ego. I am something completely different. Here is where you first start to learn that, because here is the place where I think, therefore I am. Red ray root chakra beginning, and this is actually the third chakra. The first three chakras is this reality. Okay, you're in the yellow ray. Literally, this our Sol, the sun, is a yellow ray sun. You're in the place of doing. So you're literally in the place of I think, and I am, and I'm doing. Okay, so you really, literally are. I'm self-aware. I think, therefore I am, and now I'm in the place of doing. That is the bottom three chakras. Evil people will stay in these three chakras, and they will never ascend higher than that. You start to move into the heart chakra, because that controls the bottom three and the upper three. That's the Vesica Pisces. The lower three chakras is literally one sphere. The upper three chakras are the spiritual sphere. So you have the lower planes, the physical plane in the bottom three chakras, the spiritual plane in the upper three chakras, and the heart chakra, which is the controlling factor. The heart chakra is the 9 number. The bottom level is the 3, the top level is the 6, and the controlling factor is the 9, and that is the heart chakra. That is the creation, the Higgs boson, the God particle. The creation of the universe is in the center of us. That's why I made that meme a couple years ago that said the center of your light. Oh, it's actually from the Orion Coalition of Light. I can play the video for you. I have it on here. It literally says, your light is the same light that is the center of the universe. The center of you is the same as the center of the universe, because it is the logos. It is the creation. That's the heart chakra. So the heart chakra is where the two overlap, the Vesica Pisces. That's the yin and the yang. When you see the white in the dark, and the dark and the white, that's this. That is the Vesica Pisces. So you have this. Let me try and do that, but they always show it that way. Like that. Okay, so you have the overlapping. That's where the heart chakra is. That's the Vesica Pisces. That's the triple toroidal field: upper, lower, below, above, and the central point of love and creation. So the 9 energy that creates everything and keeps it in this physical plane into this toroidal field that is the sphere with the hole in the center that goes down to a 0 point. That 0 point is where you reside. It's where your heart resides. That is the controlling factor. That's the 9 energy. Okay. So, Woo Rider said, back, had to reboot my laptop. That happens sometimes, right? Peter, welcome, brother. How's things over in Ireland? I hope that you guys are starting to vote out the progressives like everybody else in Europe is doing too. And if not, you guys will be doing it soon, and hopefully America will start to be doing it as well. Okay, so let's continue with what Ra is talking about here to Dawn.
Could you give me the same information on the negatively oriented social memory complexes as to the ratios, how they use the slingshot or other effect, personality disciplines? Ra, I am Ra. The fourth density negative uses the slingshot gravitic light effect, perhaps 80% of its membership being unable to master the disciplines necessary for alternate methods of travel. In fifth density negative, approximately 50% at some point gain the necessary discipline to use thought to accomplish travel. As the sixth density approaches, the negative orientation is thrown into confusion and little travel is attempted. What travel is done is perhaps 73% of light/thought. 52.6 question.
Okay, before we get into the 52.6, till we get to the sixth question of the session 52. So literally, Ra here is explaining that as you move up, you can see that even the people that are evil, that are in service to self, because that still happens all the way till halfway through the sixth dimension, density, they're still around. There's just less and less of them as you go higher and higher, because more and more move away from that. When they get into the sixth, they basically are not doing much. That's what he's saying. They're not doing much traveling. They're in a state of confusion because now that's the purgatory. Halfway through the sixth dimension is as far as somebody who is in service to self can go. They cannot ascend anymore. They are stuck there. They can stay in that place for eternity if they want to. And they will just recycle over and over and over and over, or at that point, they're almost all energy, so they're just stuck. They can't go anywhere. So you just live with however many evil people are there, and evil people are doing evil shit to each other. And eventually then you go, there's no future in this. And then you decide to repent your ways, but you don't have to come all the way back down to where you made that decision to be evil. You just flip, and then you move up. You start moving up on the positive side. But you can't fool the universe. You can't pretend and go, I'm going to get them. I'm going to pretend and fake the universe out. You just can't do that. Why? Because the creator of the universe is the one that's doing everything. And the creator of the universe is objective with itself and knows when it's lying to itself. Okay. You're just not aware of that when you're evil, because you can't believe and don't want to believe that there's something that is better than you, that is better than no matter how much you've convinced yourself that evil is. So you know evil is equal to God. Not in any way. Not in any way. You're designed to have a specific purpose for a specific time to help expand the consciousness and expand the possibilities of experiences. That's it. That's it. You don't get to go any further. Whether you like it or not, doesn't matter. I tell you, don't believe me. Look into it yourself and figure that shit out, because it doesn't matter to me. I'm not here trying to save you. I'm just here trying to give people back the memory of having free will to start thinking for themselves. I am not Jesus. I am not here to die for your sins. I am not that kind of angel. That's not what I'm here for. I'm not here to be that martyr. That's not my job. There's other people who chose that. I'm not worthy to be that. Never want to even have delusions of grandeur that I am that in any way. Don't want it. Otherwise, I'd already be dead. It wouldn't even make it to this age. How many of these savior characters throughout time, which I'm writing about in my book, how long did they live? Not very long, right? 33 years was as long as Jesus lived. I'm 56. I'm going to be 57. If I were going to be a martyr, I would have been killed somewhere between the time I was, 14 and 33. I would have never made it this long. Didn't sign up for that job. Okay. Had one. We had 12 of those on this planet. The last one being calling himself Jesus. Okay. 12 different places, 12 different times, spreading that same message throughout time. We're aware of that now. Some of us know that to be true. The last one, we believe it was the same character, the same person, the same soul doing all of that. Some of you don't want to believe that because you have a religion, and whatever that religion is that you're a part of, you believe that one's the right one because that's what they indoctrinate you to, and that all other religions are fake and made up from yours because it's all about the physicality, and I can prove my lineage on a piece of paper going back further than your lineage. See? And then they argue over when that started. Well, Christianity started from the Hebrew religion, so therefore the Hebrew religion's better. But the Hebrew religion borrowed from the Mesopotamians, so that one's got to be better. Wait, the Mesopotamians claim they borrowed that from the Akkadians. The Akkadians, the Greeks, claim they borrowed it from the Egyptians. The Egyptians claim they borrowed it from a different society that died out 75,000 years ago, maybe 77,000 years ago. So we haven't gotten to figure out what they knew, so we can find out where they borrowed it from. Okay. So the truth is, we've already found out since 2012 that the Marduk is not the end all, the be all, because those people who wrote that said they borrowed that scroll. And that it was an Akkadian scroll, and the Akkadians said they got it from Egyptians, and the Egyptians said they got it from somebody else. So even Thoth the Atlantean doesn't go back as far, or maybe it does. Maybe that's where the Atlanteans, but the information is identical. Well, they all borrowed it from that. Physicality, again. That's what I'm writing about in this book. The one that's coming out in the next couple of months, I give you the introduction to that. What I'm writing about now in the next book, which is probably going to take me a year to write and then a year to publish. That one is going to show you. I'm going to interpret for you the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. I just got done interpreting the revelation of Jesus Christ from the Bible today. Okay. And I'm going to go on to the Emerald Tablets. Then I'm going to go on to give a couple more examples. I'll probably go back to the Hebrew and then interpret the Moses story, including the Exodus and especially all of the plagues of Egypt, and explain to you what that means. Okay. I might just use those three and then move on from there and allow people to then start looking it up for yourself. Okay. I haven't figured out how far I'm going to go with that, but I'm going to do those three. I just did the Revelations. I'm going to do the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, and then I'm going to do the Moses story. After that, I may just move into the theology of religion. But the truth is this. Everyone is obsessed with physicality, and that's not the answer to anything. It's never been the answer to anything. Looking for the land of milk and honey, it's out there somewhere. Looking for El Dorado, it's out there somewhere, the city of gold. Looking for how to turn lead into gold, it's there somewhere. We just got to figure out how to do it. Looking for the 13 crystal skulls. Where's the 13th crystal skull? It's your head. Golgotha, it's your skull. Okay? I'm going to talk about that in my book. What's going to unlock all the 12 skulls? Yours. When you crystalline your body, when you align your chakras and you crystalline those chakras, and that crystallines the chakras in your head, that is unlocking Golgotha. Golgotha means the place of the skull. Okay. That is going to unlock your skull and crystallize your skull. And then you are going to unlock the knowledge of the 12 scrolls. There's that number 12, 12 tribes of Judah, 12 tribes of Israel, right? And what is that? What are the 12 tribes? It's the same as the tree of life, isn't it? If you consider the tree itself to be one of the chakras or archetypes. Okay. So if you do that, then you look at all of the trees of life, including the Yggdrasil from the Vikings and all over the world, they're identical. And that's the same as the human body or the galaxy or the universe. Wait, what? Okay. I'm going to draw that correlation in this next book that I'm talking about right now. Because if you're focused on the physical, you will never learn what you need to learn to escape this place. The test of this place is for you to learn that knowledge, move away from the physical into the spiritual, and start looking within yourself for the answers as you look without. But not focusing just on without. If you're focused on the bottom three chakras alone, which is this physical place, you will never ascend. And you will stay in that place until you get halfway through the sixth. When you get into the sixth, you will get confused. You won't understand what's going on because nothing makes sense anymore to you. And that's when you start questioning and thinking for yourself. And then you will turn and go the other way because you will realize that what you're doing is folly and choosing to be in service to self for however many millennia that you chose that. If you lasted that long, it was a waste of your time, but it wasn't, because the experiences that you gain are going to assist the all. Okay, so let's continue with what Raw's talking about here, because now we're back on point, and Don's going to ask Raw another question, but he's still working in the physical here, and he's still asking about a slingshot in the physical for moving in warp speed.
Is there any difference then, at, say, close to the end of fifth density in the disciplines of personality required for this travel between positive and negative orientation, higher fifth density? Ra, I am Ra. There are patent differences between the polarities, but no difference what?
Well, let's see. Now, I'm going to put this up on the screen. Woo Rider DJ, or DG, he put, I think there'll be a lot of answers that will come from the Tibetan library. Only 10% has been translated, I believe. Well, okay, again, there's going to be knowledge that's going to be in there. It's not going to be any different than any knowledge that's anywhere else in the universe that you can find. Okay, you can look there and you can wait for them to translate that. Okay, it's just like the Book of Kells. You can wait for the Irish to figure that out. They haven't done it in 10 generations, neither of the Tibetan monks. You can wait for that to happen. Wait here, God's coming back in a bus for you. Or you can look at all of what's going on everywhere and stop looking in the physical for the oldest scroll. Okay, the biggest problem that everybody has, and I was just talking about this, the biggest problem that everybody has, and I'm writing about this in my current book that I'm currently writing, not the one that's about to come out. That one's going to be out in a couple of months, but then the next book that I'm writing. The biggest issue that everyone has here, and this is why I loved that that Joe Rogan made this off-the-cuff remark years ago. But it was so wise. I don't even think he realized how wise it was. I would love to talk to him to ask him if he actually understood how wise that was. He said on his podcast years ago, it had to have been 5 or 6 years ago, he said the problem, I don't know exactly the date, but I think I heard it 3 or 4 years ago, and it was older then. He said the problem that everybody has is that they're focused on trying and obsessed with trying to find these scrolls and then going, what's the oldest scroll and the older one, and find another one and find another one and find another one. And all of them say the same things. And so they're assuming that they borrowed it from an older race. We got to find the next race and find the next one and find the next one, because once we interpret those, we're going to find the answers. So you're not able to find the forest because the trees are in the way. Okay, you can't see the forest because you're trying to look past the trees to find out where the forest is. I know what the forest is out there, but I can't see them because these trees right in front of me are in the way. So you're trying to look past the forest and through the forest to find the forest, and you're ignoring the forest. Do you understand? So my point here is that you can wait for them to undo those scrolls, but I would wager those scrolls are going to be just as confusing as all the other scrolls, because they're going to be esoteric in nature. And they're going to be telling you something that's actually very simple, but you think it's going to be something that's not simple because it must be something that is groundbreaking to the entire world. But when people like me tell you what that groundbreaking thing is, you go, it can't be that simple. It just can't be that simple. So you're wrong, because it's not that simple until you unlock that. That's why the story of the guru or yogi or whoever it is, that's, I don't even know that it actually happened in real life, but it's a scenario that everyone goes through. So the story is, because the same thing happened to me. The story is, you buy everything you can find and you read everything that you can find. And this guru was doing that. And he bought every book that he could find on ascension and wanted to wake up, and he wanted to be awake. And he read everything that he could ever possibly read to try and figure it out. And one day when he woke up, he realized he was actually awake. And because he was now awake, the first thing he did was took all the books that he had bought in his entire life, put them on the front lawn of his house, and burned them all. Because he realized that none of them knew anything that wrote those books compared to what he now knows. And it is that simple that you, once you see it, you go, how does no one see this? It is literally in everything. It is literally everything. So there isn't going to be a scroll that someone's going to translate that is going to say, unless, which is odd, because this is why I'm trying to write what I'm writing, because what I don't understand, and maybe it's because I'm going to come across the same way, and I think that's what it is. No one's going to understand what you say unless they're ready to understand it. So even if I explain it to you as simple as possible, you will deny the answer when I say it to you, because I can't be right about that in your mind, because it's not that simple. You're wrong. It's something huge. That is what I run into with everything, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to try. Do you see? So I will tell you this, and I've seen other people say this, but no one says this about the Revelation. But I've heard a woman say this about Thoth, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, and I know it to be true because I've read them and reread them and reread them. I literally woke up one day, I think I've told this story, literally was sitting up reading a scroll, trying to figure it out and decipher it. And I did. And when I did, I thought I had lost my mind, because when I did, it disappeared. I had written a whole bunch of stuff down, translated it. It disappeared. I was not asleep. I waited till the next day and came back and tried to figure that out. Couldn't find the scroll that I was reading the night before. It was also gone. Been looking for it ever since. Almost 3 years now. But I did notice that something in me changed. I was able to read all these other scrolls and actually understand what they were saying. And I didn't tell anyone for over 2 years, because I wanted to see if anybody else knew this information. Was I right? Was I making this up? Was I seeing this information in all of these words everywhere? Or did I go crazy? Or am I actually able to interpret things that I'm not supposed to be able to interpret, because only people in the future, a long ways away from now, will be able to understand that? Although that was written 5,000 years ago or 3,000 years ago. And then I started asking other people, hey, do you when you read this scroll, what do you get out of that? When I ask them like that, they're like, well, it's still kind of confusing. But if I say to anyone, I know what that scroll says, and I believe that it says this, they go, yeah, I knew that too. Everyone says that, but no one has ever been saying it, until I started running into people on the internet that were like, do you know that this scroll says this? And I was like, yes, I do. But I didn't think anyone else knew that. So people start saying this more and more. And I realized, because I'm not thinking that I'm the only person who's able to do this, because I know that every single one of you on this earth can do this when you learn this information, right? Cassie, welcome. Rick, I didn't say hi to you either. Hi, Rick. I'm sorry. I didn't say anything. Polly, I didn't say hi to you. See, put on my glasses and I start seeing there are people here. Polly, welcome. Cassie, welcome. Rick, welcome. Who did I miss? All right. So you can wait. I'm not saying that you're wrong in wanting to know what those scrolls say. Okay. You should know what those scrolls say. You should read every scroll that's out there and try to figure them all out. I go down that road and I try to read everything. When someone brings something up, I'll go, I haven't read that yet. I better go find that and read that. So I try to get a copy of it and I try to read it. Because I want to know if there's something else I don't know. I'm not going to assume I know everything, ever. Because no one can possibly know everything in this lowly place where it's the first place that you're self-aware. You can't. You can only know what you can know in this reality. That's it. So there's going to be exponentially more and more things to learn as you move up. So if you want to wait physically for somebody to translate a scroll that hasn't been translated because you think that's where the answers are going to be, you're going to find that they're going to translate the scrolls and they're going to seem mundane and they're going to seem confusing and they're going to seem like you don't understand them, because that's the way they were intended to be written always, because they are written in a way that is esoteric and that only those people who are able to, let him who have the ears to hear, let him who has the eyes to see. Okay? Those are highlights that have been written down to tell you it's esoteric. There is a knowledge here that is hidden, that are not these words that you're reading. It means something different. But we're putting this in these words because evil people don't get to know this knowledge. That is what that sentence means. Let him who hath the understanding reckon the number of the beast. That is written to tell you that everything that they're talking about from that point on, that's a highlight. This is important, and there's messages that are hidden here that only those who have the ears to hear, only those who have the mind to see, only those who have the eyes to see or the mind to know are going to be able to unlock what I'm saying to you. That is the secret. The key to unlocking that, I can tell you what it is. But unless you use that key, you're not going to believe me. Okay? So literally, and it's this simple. The letters to the churches in the revelation of Jesus Christ. There are 7 churches, 7 chakras. Start at the very first church, and I'm writing it down and telling you this is the etymology of the name of the church and what it means. And this is the red ray root chakra, and this is what that means, and this is what that represents. And here's what Jesus says to that church. And that is telling you what it is that you're up against in that chakra, how to balance that chakra. And if you don't balance that chakra and you live in the flesh, this is what I don't like about you, and this is what's going to happen to you. Then he says, let him who has the ears to hear. Highlight. Everything I said here was important. There are 7 of those, 7 chakras. There are 7 plagues of Moses, 7 chakras. Everything that happens after those 7 chakras, when he goes to heaven, is what happens when he unlocks the scrolls, the judgment. That's not going to happen in the physical plane. We're not going to have the end of the world and the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse ride out and blow up the earth and kill everybody off and have this rapture and the left behind. That's all going to happen naturally. There might be some version of that happens because as above, so below, right? That is what is in heaven. What you sow on earth, I shall too sow in heaven. That was in what is that, Matthew 16 or 18 or Mark 18? I don't remember right off the top of my head. I'd have to grab my Bible and look it up. Okay. So literally the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the first 7 books of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth are the chakras, and Thoth is telling you how to, what is he talking about? He's talking about the gods that rule the 7. In the letters to the churches, it's the 7 lamps, right? And the 7 stars in my hand that rule the 7 lamps. That is the information of the chakras and those archetypes, and those archetypes are the gods that Thoth the Atlantean talks about that rule. Okay, and the same thing when you read the first 7 chapters of Thoth the Atlantean, start with the very first one as the red ray root chakra, and then go to the red, to the orange, to the yellow, to the green, and on up to the light blue, to the indigo, to the purple. Learn what the chakras represent, read what he's telling you, and he's telling you what you're up against, what has happened, and what will happen if you don't balance that chakra and how you do it. Then the rest of the books after that, like Revelations, are about the balancing. Every single chapter after chapter 7 is how to balance each chakra and what happens if you don't in the Thoth, the Atlantean, the Emerald Tablets. I'm starting to write about that in my current book that I'm currently writing. I just finished with Revelations, what I just explained to you. If you're not ready for this information, you think that I'm crazy right now, and you think that I'm making this up and that it's not true. I'm giving you the keys. Giving you the keys to the universe. The plagues of Moses were the exact same. The Moses story starts out with him being the savior character of the Hebrews, of the Jewish people. And people say the Jews were never actually slaves from the Egyptians. So what is this whole story about? It's about living in the flesh, being duped by someone, and that's when they were supposedly under contract and duped by them. And then the savior character, who is a very big savior character, falls and is cast out and then returns with the word of God, and then takes on the serpent in the garden, takes on Ramses II, gives the 7 plagues, and the 7 plagues are the 7 deadly sins. There's that again, right? And the 7 plagues are what is happening if you don't balance the chakras and you are in service to self and not in service to others. And if you're in service to others, you get to leave during the Exodus with Moses, who leads you to the promised land. And that 40-year cycle of being out there looking for the promised land after people fell again, once they got away from the flesh, then they fell by debauchery and all of that. That's the lesson that you learn of the Christos, and then you move forward. Okay, you move forward. Okay, so Woo Writer says, I don't have Facebook or TikTok. I'm on Instagram as well. So if you want to listen to my podcast, you can listen to me anywhere you listen to an MP3 podcast. You don't have to be on Facebook or TikTok or YouTube. You can listen to the MP3 version of what I'm telling you on anywhere that you listen to your podcast. And if Orion Rising is not already on there, you can go to www.orionrising, just like you see on the screen here, ORIONRISING.podbean, PODBEAN.com. There will be the podcast that has my RSS number that you can copy from there and go to your app, and you can plug it into your app, and all of my shows that are on Podbean will automatically go into your app because your company doesn't want you to leave to listen to me somewhere else. Okay, so yes, have I heard of the Orion Group? I am part of the Orion Group. So literally, this is those of you who can't see him, and you're, who is Leo talking to? You have to remember that I'm live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and all those chats come in here, and I'll put it up on the screen. Have I heard of the Orion Group? I am actually part of the Orion Coalition of Life. The Coalition of Light is down here in the physical plane. I actually have that on Facebook. I have that group, and I'm part of that. Well, the Orion Group, if you're talking about, there are two. There's the Orion Crusaders. That is the evil people that left Orion, the belt of Orion, when we chased their asses out of there, and they came here and took over this planet and this solar system and 22 other solar systems in this area. And then there was a group of us, the Orion Coalition, or the Orion Council of Light, the Orion Group, who left chasing them, came here to help. And some of us, Cassie, Peter, in this audience, myself, a few others that I haven't gotten permission because they're not fully awake yet to tell you their names, that also may or may not be in the crowd currently. Some of them don't know who they are yet and haven't woke up completely. Cassie knows, Peter knows, and I know. Okay, and there's other people that I still know that are out there that haven't fully awoken. Some are, but there's many councils. So the Orion Group is the Orion Council of Light, which is attached to the Council of Venus, or the Galactic Council. That is who we are attached to. We came here with that council. We are that council's representation down here in the physical. Okay, and we are working with the Council of Venus, or the Council of 12, or the Council of 9, or the Galactic Council, whatever you know them as. That is the Council of Venus. Okay. So he says, yes, they have business. They have businesses in the U.S. and their locations are aligned with Orion star system. Yes, all over the world, not just there. That's why I call my show Orion Rising. Orion Rising is the knowledge of us waking up this people of this earth to their place in the universe. That's why it's called Orion Rising. It is the knowledge of the Orion, because I'm part of that coalition. So I called my show that, and the book that I wrote. That's the cover of my book that you see on the screen. And the book is a what if, to try and expand people's consciousness that what if this ancient aliens thing were true? And if it is true, then there's this war that's going on. The temporal war is what I'm referring to. There's this war that's going on behind the scenes that nobody is right in front of your face and no one knows, because that's actually true. That's actually going on. There's a war that is going on, not just in the physical, but in the astral. So it's all throughout time, past, present, and future, in all times, in all realities is going on. And that is going on in the third dimension, the fourth dimension, and partway through the fifth dimension. Okay. So yes. And some of us don't know these other people in this life because we haven't met them yet, but we are still part of the same coalition. And it's compartmentalized so that if, say, somebody tries to pick my brain, I only know 3 or 4 people. I don't know everybody that, therefore they can't, they can't, but they're like BlackRock, but not in the evil way. So the ones that you're referring to that are like BlackRock in the evil way, then those are the people that are part of the Orion Crusaders, and they are in fact in service to self, and they are in fact evil. So I believe that the Orion group that you're referring to is that, though, and they're like BlackRock, and they are like own pieces. Because if you look at BlackRock, there's 3 of them: the Orion group, BlackRock, and 2 others. So there's 4 really, but they all own about 15% of every company, and then they get together and have their little meetings so that they control like 70% of every company between them. That is the Orion Crusaders. That is what you would know as the Illuminati, or everybody wants to call them the Anunnaki, which that word doesn't exist the way everybody thinks it does, but it's okay to have the concept and give it a name. right? The Illuminati, the Bilderbergers, the Orion Crusaders, the like I said, the Anunnaki, the Skull and Bones, all of those, wherever you are on the planet, there's, a secret society that's part of that organization. And you're absolutely right. And so the Orion group that you're referring to is not part of the coalition of good people. They're part of the coalition of evil people that are down here on the earth that are trying to run things as well. Okay, so yeah, Denise is over there so that Woo Rider can see. Yeah, I come on every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern. That's 3 p.m. Pacific. So that's GMT -7. I don't know where you are in the world. Woo Rider's DJ. I don't know where you are in the world. So Rick, he's yelling at me now. Leo, Rick says, if stars are hydrogen and helium burning very hot, then how the fuck do beings survive there? That's a good question. Let me explain that to you, Rick. Beings, because what you're referring to is in third dimension. Our sun Sol is literally on fire with yellow ray energy that's coming off of the sun that we perceive as yellow ray energy. This sun is actually a blue dwarf, but it's not a blue dwarf in the third dimension. It's a blue dwarf in the sixth dimension, and it occupies the exact same space. So when you leave the third dimension and move into the fourth dimension, the fifth dimension, the sixth dimension, the reality around you shifts to that octave, that vibration. Okay. So literally there could be beings that are energy in the sixth dimension or seventh dimension or eighth dimension that are literally living in the sun, have a whole society there in our sun that we have currently, but they're living there in the sixth dimension or above. And that reality is so far removed from this reality that the dynamics of the physics that are there are completely different. And the people that are living there are completely different. For an example, the rings of Saturn here on this earth, down in this reality, in third dimension. To us, we go there, there's just a bunch of chunks of ice, meteors of ice that are floating around out there, chunks of water that are floating around out there. There is currently an entire species living in that. But we can't see them because they're not in phase with this third dimensional reality. They are actually in the fifth dimension. So the vibration of them is exponentially higher than this third dimensional or density vibration. You cannot perceive them. There is currently, Rick, a fourth dimensional life forms living on this planet, an entire global species currently living right here, could be standing where you're standing. You could be standing in the middle of a street, in a wall. You could be standing in someone's bed while they're sleeping right now. They are out of phase with you because they are in the fourth dimension, not the third dimension. And the people that are living on this planet still call this planet Terra. The vibration of this sun is no longer yellow there because they've now moved up to the next chakra. So they're in the fourth chakra. So the light coming off from the sun is a blue, or is a green light, not a blue light. It's a green light on this planet because they're in the fourth dimension. Do you understand that? So literally right now, currently out of phase with this reality, there are people living on this planet in the fourth dimension, but the octave is so different than us that we can't even perceive them. You walk right through one another and never even make any contact whatsoever. However, if you are spiritually aware, you can tap into those too. People that are assassins will go and occupy the same space. This is what's happening to Carla as she's trying to channel Ra. Assassin is in the fourth dimension, occupying the same space that Carla is occupying in and trying to assassinate her from across dimension. That's part of the temporal war. Do you see? So literally doesn't matter where, right? So hold on, then Woo Rider asks the question. Let me put it up on the screen. Where are our thoughts on the fourth dimension? That's actually really good question. Where are thoughts in the fourth, in the third? Now, here's the problem that people have. This I addressed in my book that's about to come out. When you hear the term 3D, you immediately think dimension, dimensionality, physicality, this physical place. Okay? So when you're thinking, where are the thoughts? You're told that your thoughts are in this flesh brain that's inside this skull, and that they're just electrical impulses that are going from one part of the brain to the other. You should read Talbot's book, which I don't have in front of me. It's over in my chair. You should read Talbot's book that was put out in the 70s based on theories from the 40s and 50s and 60s, the holographic universe, which pioneered what science is now getting on to, the idea that the universe is completely different than we thought, and some of it is just like our AI. When we created AI, and we've been creating AI, we started to realize that some of what we thought was reality looks exactly like our engineered AI and computer programming. And that's blown the scientific community all crazy. Terrence Howard, is that his name? Who just is coming out with his information, is expanding that exponentially. And some people are already onto that pi being 3.1415973, whatever it is wrong. And the 22/7 is the wrong equation, that representation of the fraction. And then it should be something like, and I don't know the exact number, like 144/137. Don't quote me on that because I don't know the exact number right off the top of my head. But that calculates pi as 3.14459, and it doesn't repeat exponentially. It's almost perfect. 3.144 instead of 3.1459. Okay, so the fractions are less. It's almost a whole number, and it's calculable a lot faster. That's the enigma of 24. I don't want to get too far into the physics right now because you asked a question about thoughts. Thoughts, who you are, I can prove this to you right this second, that there is something other than a dimension. The dimension is physicality. There is another D to that 3D, okay? Just like fractals are to this reality, that just like the Fibonacci sequence is the right angles to the phi ratio of 1.168, which is the arc spiral on the outside of those hard shapes that are down. So the fractal is the spirals. That's the feminine energy to the masculine energy, and both of those happen in this reality. We're just starting to perceive the fractal other part with the computer, looking inward instead of outward. Looking outward, you see from a top-down view, the river seems to snake through, and it seems to be soft. And then when you get closer, you find out that it's got all these rough edges as well as the soft, and you don't notice that from a distance. The same thing with fractals. The more you zoom in, okay. Let's get to thought. Thought, where you think it's in your brain, the truth is there is a thought that occurs, higher form thought that occurs in an entire concept before your brain starts thinking of the words. Okay? And we prove this through meditation, that when you do see something, like say you're looking at the Grand Canyon or you're looking at a sunset, and you just stop and you sit there in that, what we call the aha moment or the awe moment, where you're just staring and witnessing. And in that moment, you're not thinking, but you still are. So I think therefore I am has now gone out the window, because now you're still there and you're not the thinking mind. So then what is that? And where is that? And who is that? And who are you? Because if that is you, you're not the thinking mind. You are not the physical body, and you are not the ego. You're not the pain body. You're not the flesh. That means you're not this flesh brain that's inside of my skull. That is the driver, the engine that drives this avatar. It reflects what I am, and I'm plugged into it like a virtual reality goggles. But I don't know, because this place doesn't allow me to know it. It thinks it's real, so it's trying to convince me that it's real. So your thoughts are actually happening outside of the bounds of this reality, outside the bounds of space-time, in time-space, or the other way around. Outside the bounds of three-dimensional reality, it's happening in a place that is called a density, which is a spiritual realm that is outside of this physical place where you actually reside. And as you from here start to ascend and make the decision, I'm no longer in service to self, I'm not going to live in the flesh, I am going to start contemplating the non-flesh. What is that? When you start down that path, you start your ascension, and you start asking questions, and you start moving into your own non-physical spiritual place. And we teach that in meditation. And I can do it in 30 seconds. If you want to do it right now, let me know if you're still here, and I can get you to do it in 30 seconds. And literally, if you do it, you answer the question, and you're properly doing it, I will prove it to you. But you do it naturally when you see things, when you have that pause and you stop thinking and you realize, wow, I wasn't even thinking, I was just witnessing. Who is that? That's you as the experiencer experiencing. You're above the reach of the thinking mind, above the reach of the ego. None of those, it's your clarity, but you still exist. So you're not thinking and you still exist. That means that you exist outside of the bounds of this reality. So there's another D, and that's the density. As you move away from the physicality and move into the spiritual realm, you start doing that here. First, you become self-aware. You're aware of the place of doing, because that's where you live. You're then supposed to learn. This is the secret. You're supposed to learn how to start changing yourself and pulling yourself into the realm of away from the thinking mind and thinking that you are this place and that you are this reality and I am this body and the thinking mind, and you're listening to your ego, to where that I am something else that is something different. What is that? And then you start to get onto the concept of immortality, something other than this place that I'm a part of, and that expands your consciousness. You're supposed to do that here, and then you move up. And as you move up to the fourth dimension, the physicality, the density of your body becomes less dense as the density of your energy, soul, becomes more dense. You transition in your reality away from the physical plane into the plane of energy, and eventually you become light. You become energy, because that is what you actually are, but you perceive yourself as that, and you start moving into that. And so each plateau, fourth dimension, fifth dimension, sixth dimension, you start losing more of the physical plane and the physical body. As you become more aware of the spiritual plane and the spiritual body, you move out of this physical place, and all of this shifts in your, then the reality becomes more there. The food that you don't consume, food like we don't need the flesh of animals or plants anymore. You then start taking the nectar of the universe, which is energy, and you just get that from the universe, and you dine on that until eventually you don't have to actually have the nectar to drink or to consume. And then you just draw the energy into yourself. And by the time you do that, you're moving up through the sixth dimension, the sixth density. And then when you go into the seventh, you're getting ready to move up to the next octave. The seventh dimension is the last octave of this physical plane, and you move into the next, sorry, the television in the other room went off, and I thought I lost the signal, and I was looking up, and I realized it was them losing the thing they were showing on television. They lost their signal and then had to go back to live. It's on the news. Anyway. So then you start losing your physical body, and you eventually it goes away. The physical plane that is the lower plane for your development in the universe is 0, or the first dimension, through the seventh. That's one octave. Okay. That's one octave. Then it's 8 through, we're not sure how far it goes, but I would wager it's probably through 13. Okay. But some people say there's 33 levels, and we can't know the answer to that, because no one starting in the 8th dimension or density tells anybody in this lower plane what goes on up there. No one. They will channel to you and answer questions about this place, but it's against the laws of the universe to tell you anything about that place. So anyone who says, I know what's going on in the 8th because I came from the 10th or 12th, they can't tell you that down here, and they're lying. Okay. And anybody that knows anything about that, any psychic with their weight in salt or in anything, knows that when you're doing a psychic reading on someone, there are times when you cannot tell them the information that you want to tell them, because their higher self or the universe itself will not allow you, because they are supposed, that is something that they're supposed to learn on their own. Okay. So the thought process that you're asking for, it's not an easy question, but that's going on in a different place that is separate from this third dimensional reality. It's going on in the third density, which is where you actually reside. But you're unaware of it in the beginning when you are born here, unless you're unveiled like I am. I wasn't always unveiled, but in this life, I was unveiled. So in this life, I've known this since I was born. And I believe that Terrence Howard knew this because he remembers being in the womb. He remembers entering into the physical body before it was done developing. I remember that as well. I also know what I did in my past lives, and all I have to do is look. And people are like, well, so you know the answers to everything? Yeah, if I look. I can tap into the halls of Amente just like you can, or the Akashic Record, whatever you know that as. We all have that ability. You all have that ability. You just have to unlock that in yourself. That is what this place is supposed to be helping you to do. So I hope I answered the question, because you disappeared and didn't say anything. I don't know if that means because you're listening or you think I'm crazy. All right. So let me check and see if you guys have any other questions going on, right? Like things happening here to us. Okay, so Rick is asking a question that was meant to be here, and Uluru was meant to come from here. I just know. Well, Uluru is a chakra, Rick. It is the navel. Is it the navel or the sacral? It's either the sacral or the navel. Are they the same? It's the orange ray. So that's the second one. So you're actually, that's what Uluru is. Uluru is the navel chakra of this planet. I live about 100 miles from the red ray root chakra of the earth, which is Mount Shasta, which is literally about 100, maybe 150 miles north of where I'm sitting right now. That's the number one chakra, and you're at the number two chakra. If you were at Stonehenge, you're close there, Glastonbury. Over in England, you're actually within 100 miles of the third eye chakra and the heart chakra of the earth. They're almost in the same place currently. It shifted there a few years ago. The third eye moves around the planet, and currently it's in Glastonbury, England, where the heart chakra is currently also residing. So you were working, Rick, in Uluru, which is the navel chakra of the earth. It is the life force chakra of the earth, the wellspring of which everything flows. The god and the goddess, especially the goddess energy, is in Australia in that mound. That's why it's like a navel. It looks like a belly button, an Audi. A lot of people don't realize that is why that it looks like that. It looks like a navel. It looks like an Audi. The big Uluru itself is a Audi belly button sticking out of the belly button, and all the energy around that is the cavity that is the belly, or the belly button, where the belly button comes out of. So you're a lucky person. That's why I can't wait to someday travel there and see you and have it go on your tour and hang out with you, because the energy that you're going to feel from that place is going to be crazy. And I know you're already aware of it because you talk about it. So that's pretty badass, bro. So, yeah, solar plexus, right? You were trying to type fast, right? Yeah, the solar plexus. No, it's not the heart. It's the solar plexus. The heart is in Glastonbury. It was in Stonehenge. It's slightly moved since the planet has shifted. That's why Stonehenge was put there, because it was literally the center of the heart chakra was Stonehenge in Glastonbury, England. And that was built, now we know, more than 75,000 years ago, somewhere around 80 to 100,000 years ago, by the people, not by English people, but by Druids, but by the race of people that occupied this earth in the prior to the deluge, that were here prior to that destruction, prior to the one after that, before that. So they got wiped out 77,000 years ago during I think it was the comet that hit. We're not sure if it was a comet or if it was some other stuff. I don't want to get into that theory right now because I could go off on that for a while. But we do know that, yeah, I know Denise said road trip. I'm with you. Eventually we're going to do that, right? Newgrange in Ireland is the brain, and that's where the third eye is currently. It's moving to there. Peter is right. I'm going to put that up on the screen. It's moving. It's Newgrange in Ireland is the brain. That's the third eye. The third eye chakra is moving to that place. It's almost solidified there. Most of the people are not aware of that on the earth yet, Peter. But they're starting to become, because the English are real happy that it was over in Glastonbury, but it's moved from there, and they're going to eventually start coming out and talking about it. And I knew it was going to move, and I knew it was going to Ireland. I was waiting for people over there to notice it, and you know it. So that's why I'm glad she said that. I'm going to put that back up on the screen again and say that again. Peter Coyle, who's in Ireland currently, has just declared to the world that the brain, the heart, the third eye chakra is literally moving to and settling in Newgrange in Ireland is where that is. And that's being done because it's supposed to, because we're changing things. I talked about earlier in the show about the shift that happened 2 years ago, which was a really big one. A lot of you remember that shift and know about things that happened during that. We are repairing this earth, and we're moving the energy lines of the earth back to where it was supposed to be so the earth can tilt. Literally just in 2 years, the planet was off kilter 23.5 degrees off of dead center upright back at 0 point, being upright. 2 years ago, it is now at 23.44. So it has moved 0.6 of a percent, 0.6 of a degree in 2 years. So the planet is moving itself back. The wobble is slowing down and it's going back. We're fixing that. It's going back up to 0 point. And once it reaches that 0 point, which should be in the next, because it's exponentially going to be sliding up there, we're going to see it. We're pushing for 2032, 2034. Oh, I wanted to say, I talked about on the show on last Monday on Broadcast Team Alpha, and then talked about last week. I went back and looked again at when Jesus was crucified and what year that was and when he was born. There was a discrepancy even in the dictionary and I don't have the camera on it so I can show it to you. Even here in this dictionary, which is the Smith's Bible Dictionary, there's a discrepancy, and even in here that my nephew noticed, that said that when Jesus was born as opposed to when he was crucified, and it's not 33 years, but we know that Jesus was 33 years of age. So either they were wrong in his birth date or they were wrong in the date that he died. They're pretty sure they know when he died, so their birth date was wrong. And I had said that means that if it was what they were saying, that it was 2024 would be the 30th, would be the 2024 would be the 30th anniversary, or the 2000th anniversary of Jesus. That's wrong. It's off by 2 years. It's going to be in 2026. I went back and looked it up. Let me find it real quick, and I'll read you the date again. It was April. Let me find it real fast. I'm going to read it to you since I have the book right here in front of me, okay? Okay, let me find it here, and I'll read it. It'll only take me a second. I'm already on to James. Let me find Joshua. Let me find Jesus. I think I went too far. No, I haven't gone far enough yet. Jeremiah. Jerusalem. Getting there. Did I go too far? No. It's coming up right here. J-E-R. So R-S, right? So let me find it. Jesus Christ. Okay, so here, let me read this. Okay, so Jesus Christ, let me find the dates here, and I'll read you what it says. Early family, birth. Okay, so Jesus, the birth of Christ, I'm reading this from, it's on page 307 in the Smith's Bible Dictionary, 307, first paragraph, first column, second paragraph, first column, Jesus Christ. Okay, so according to this, Jesus was born of the Virgin Mary, 6 miles south of Jerusalem. The date of his birth was most probably December 5 BC, 4 years before the era in which we count as our years, 4 years before zero to where we count AD, meaning Anno Domini, meaning after his death, okay, and the modern era. Okay, so let me find where he is crucified. So his birth, they're saying the 25th of December, which can't be right unless the time of his Immaculate Conception was wrong, but that's not as important. Anniversary marking of his birth. Where's the crucifixion and resurrection here? Okay, early life. Hold on, it might be in the next page. I should have highlighted it. I told myself to highlight it so that I could bring this up and show you guys the actual date that it says. Of course, I'm not. Oh, here it is. Okay, so the crucifixion, it says Judea and Peri beyond Jordan till the crucifixion, April 7 AD. So Jesus was crucified in April of 7 AD. So 7, he would have been 33 years of age. So let's say 7 AD, 2,000 years is 2027. So April of 2027 will be the 2,000-year anniversary of Jesus's crucifixion, according to the utmost Bible world conglomeration of minds who got together, and Smith put together this dictionary, which is a Bible dictionary. It's not any of his theories. It's just what everybody in the world agrees to. So according to this, Jesus's crucifixion was in April. This is why we have the Easter in April of the year 7 AD, Anno Domini. So that means that it'll be 2,000 years from that. It would be if he was 33 at that time in 7 AD, 2,000 years hence wouldn't be 2007 because the calculation wasn't right. So it should be, and this is why it's really difficult, because if you go by that and it says he died in 7 AD, then 2007 should have been 2,000 years since Christ's crucifixion. But we did the math, and they had to have been wrong because they said when he was born, and if he was born in 5 AD and he died in 7 AD, how could he be 33 years of age? Because that's literally on 12 years. 5 to 0 and then 7 years, that's only 12. So it had to be wrong. So if the date he was born, he died in April 7 AD, then it's already been 2,000 years. But if he was in fact born in 5 AD, December 25th, 5 AD, 33 years after that would be 33, right? The year 33 minus 5, 32, 31, 30, 29, 28. Okay, so either 27 or 28. Do you see? So if the birth date is more accurate than his death date, so if his death date is more accurate, the 2000th anniversary of Jesus was in 2007. If am I right in that? Yeah, and if the birth date was right and he was 33, then that means that he was crucified not at 12 years of age, but another 10 years, 11 years after that, which instead of being 7 would be 17, would have been right around, that's still right around now. And I did the math and it comes up to be 2026, right? Because 26 plus 7 is 31, right? 6 and 7 is 13. Yeah. So it'd be 2026, April of 2026, if his birth rate was right when he was born in 5 AD. Because then the death can't be right because he would have only been 12 years old. So if he died at 33 years of age and his birth is accurate, and they were taking a standard then and calculating that back then because they were looking for him because he was the fabled savior and they needed to kill the firstborn son, which is why they had that whole thing, the firstborn son in Egypt, by the way, when the plagues of Egypt. So that couldn't have been right. So if his birth date that was written down when he was born in Bethlehem was 5 AD, he couldn't have died in 7 AD or 5 BC. He couldn't have died in 7 AD because that's only 12 years later. If he had lived to be 33 years of age, it would have been 2026. Okay. So if they were wrong in his birth year and he was born further back, we've already passed the 2000th anniversary of Jesus. If they were right in his birth date and wrong in his birth death, the anniversary is in 2026, April of 2026, right? BC means before Christ. They say BCE, which means before Common Era if they're non-Christian, so they don't recognize the BC meaning before Christ. And the AD means Anno Domini, which means in the year of our Lord. It's Latin, AD, in Anno Domini. So he was born in not 5 AD. He was born, I said it wrong. I was reading it and I said it wrong. He was born in 5 BC. And he died in 7 AD. So yeah, and then if they think he was born in 5 AD and he died in 7, he was only 2, right? So let's say that say that he was born in 5 AD, but if that's the case, then we're 33 years from that. So 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 2038. So somewhere between 2026 and 2038 will be the 2,000-year anniversary of Jesus, because if you go by his birth or his death, and the death can't be right, that he was born and died in 7 AD. That can't be right because even the birth is saying 5 BC. So, but if that was wrong and say it was 5 AD and then shifts everything, the furthest out that it can be is 3038, but it's going to be probably in 2026, between then and 2032, 2035. The energy of the planet, and then if you calculate his everything off. I did the math one time. I told you I was a physics major and I was a nerd. I did the math with my buddy Paul, God rest him. He died a couple years ago now, a year ago, a little over a year and a half ago. He and I did the math. If they calculated our day wrong by a few seconds in 2,000 years, it changes things by more than a year, 2 years. Exponentially changes things. It's like when you take something and it's on course and it's going straight. If you change it 1 degree or a half a degree off course, in the beginning it's off of hardly at all, but the further you go in time, the further off course it is. So if they calculated our time wrong, if the Hebrew calculation of time is not as accurate as real time, and then you adjust for the accuracy of figuring out the time of our rotation of the planet and how long it takes us to go around the sun. As we get more accurate in our calculation of time, that has to change everything from the past. So they're calculating time in a way that is more than 2,000 years old, or at least the standard of 2,000 years ago. How accurate was that to the actual now? Comparative, not just to what our math says it is, but to what we know that it is. How accurate was there, and how off was it? If it was off by a few seconds, that changes things by years, 2,000 years hence. So to actually calculate the moment, say, of Jesus's crucifixion and want to go to the 2,000-year mark, you have to go back in time and check time all the way back to how they calculated it then, of when he was born and when he died and how accurate that was. And then you have to shift that for what they would call the stellar drift. They had to, that was the idea of in Stargate, when they were trying to figure out the other places that the Stargate went to, and they were dialing up other addresses, they couldn't get any Stargate to open. And they got onto the idea, the brilliant minds of a couple of different people that were on the team, got onto the idea that we're in an expanding universe. So these codes were dialing to specific places 5,000 years ago. Those planets that they're dialing to make contact on the other side, to open the gate, to make a wormhole, are not at that location anymore because of the stellar drift of the universe itself has expanded and the planets are moving further away from each other. So they had to do the calculation of distance of where that Stargate was supposed to open and how long ago that was, and readjust the calculation to open to now dial to that place for stellar drift. So the same thing happens with time. That if you're trying to calculate time and you go back to a civilization that didn't understand time the way we now understand it, and it wasn't as accurate, or the reverse, and their time calculation was more accurate than ours, then we have to recalculate our time since then and how we calculated the days, the years, and the months for 2,000 years, or whenever it is that you go back to. This is the problem that science has when they're dealing with back in time. And we're finding that some of the people backwards in time were calculating things closer than we are currently, and we're readjusting things now in the future because our math has been wrong for thousands of years. And that they were able to, like, for instance, calculating pi. The Egyptians were able to calculate pi, we believe, to a whole number, not to a fraction the way we do. And we have just changed from, you heard me talking about it before, 22 over 7 being 3.14159, and then a bunch of other numbers after that. And then it repeats after 6 digits, and it repeats for infinity. We cannot, with our current mathematics, calculate pi accurately. But when you move to 144 over 137 instead of 22 over 7, pi is now calculated as 3.144. And a small fraction. So we now have to adjust our thinking of pi, that what we had before is 3.1415979, whatever that is wrong. 22 over 7 is a lower number, and it's wrong. And we have expanded our consciousness to now realize that, and science is just starting to move into that. Terrence Howard was talking about that, and I had a video that I sent to you guys, I think last week or the week before, talking about that, where a guy has a theory that he believes that pi is this higher calculation and it's more accurate. And we're getting closer to what the Egyptians knew 10,000 years ago, 12,000 years ago, that they already knew. So what did we lose in that time period, and when did we lose it? And we discovered mathematics and it's calculated wrong. Why? Because the people who taught us mathematics were teaching us purposefully the wrong number system. Our system of math that is 0 through 9 is a third dimensional system. 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then a 1 and a 0, a 1 and a 1 and a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 3. That counting by tens. It's wrongful thinking, and it is third dimensional thinking only in this dimension and dimensionality. It is not expanding the consciousness into 4D, 5D thinking or 6D thinking, expanding outside of the physical plane at all. When you calculate by 12, 3, 6, 9, the next progression is 12. That continues until 24, 12, 15, right? 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. That's 12 plus 12. Okay, it's 24. And 12 is 3 times 4. 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. So literally 3 plus 3, 3, 6, 9 is this physical place. 12 is the fourth dimension outside of this physical place. And on and on and on until 24. So now we're moving up through the chakras, moving up through the dimensions, moving 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How many is that? Let's count that, right? So 3, 6, 9, third dimension, lower 3 chakras. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So that's 5 more. Okay? So third dimension, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth dimensional thinking is just to 24. That's the beginning of the next octave that goes up even further than that in reality. This might be confusing all of you. I don't know if it is. Okay? So I don't know if it's confusing you. So that is moving, expanding the consciousness to the 8th dimension, which we can't even go past that because the enigma of 24 repeats itself. So the first repetitive nature is 3, 6, 9. 9 repeats. Where's the next one? Is it 12, 15, 17, 18, 21, or it's probably halfway in between? So there's 5 there, right? 13, 14, 15, so it's 12, right? 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 is halfway. Do you see? 18, 2 and 2, 18 is halfway. So then above 24 would be then again 1, 2, 3 more. So 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 30, 31, 32. Is that correct? Did I do that right? 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 30, 31, 32. Okay. So there's that number 32 going into 33. Halfway through the 32 would be the 33. Do you understand that? This may not make sense to you. Okay, so the 32 and what is 3 and 2 is 5. That's a weird number. It's not the 3, 6, 9 anymore, right? 32. And what is a multiple of 32, right? Does 3 go into 32? Not evenly. Does 6 go into 32? Yes, right? Does 9 go into 32? No. So the 6 must be the midway point. I'm giving you guys something here that most people are not contemplating and you may not be following. So that must be the midpoint. So that means there has to be more past that, again, exponentially, to go from the 6 energy to the 9 energy. There has to be 3 more, not 2. Okay? Because it has to be a multiple of 9 again. But 9 is 18, right? 9 is not a multiple of 24. But this is outside the box. So to get past 8, there has to be 3 more. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So if 8 is the third one, there's 3 again. So then where do we go? 9, 10, 11, 12. So we're looking at the 12th dimension going into the 13th or back to the 1. Okay. So I don't know if any of you are following what I'm saying here. Right. Penny says, Leo, I know that you're correct. I just don't know why I know that. Right. And you can't explain it. Right. So literally that means there's 3 more. So past 24, there's 3 more, and that's moving into the highest realm. So that means that in the dimensionality 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the 12th dimension, the 13 is the next 5 section. So the 13 or the 1. So the truth is to return to the 1, the energy of returning to the universe, at least from this perspective, is that going into the 13th dimension. But I can't know that for certain because we don't know how far it goes past 8. But I can theorize to you right now that I have always believed that there are 13 realms to the 1. Lower 3, middle 3, upper 3. Okay? So that's 3, 6, 9 again. So it's the same thing again, going exponentially up. Okay? So it's still 3, 6, 9, 3, 6, 9, 3, 6, 9. Do you understand that? 3 times 9 is what? 27. Until you return to the 1. And where is that? That's at the 32. So 33 is probably because the 33 vertebrae, there's 33, our DNA has 33 strands in it. So the 33 happens in the nature, as below, so above. So the numbers 3, 6, 9, 12, we're 12 we know is the next dimension. So if you continue with the next dimensionality being another 3 numbers, it goes to 24. And what is 24? The end of the octave. It's the beginning of the 8th dimension. So from there, if it is exactly the same, then that means there's another 3 levels above that. And so 4 if you count going back to the 1. So there you go. That's 12 again. So it's the second 12. So from 24, you have 3 more. So at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, do you see? 8 is where we got at 24. 9, 10, 11, 12 is 3 more. 13 is the fourth one, and that's 5. So that's 4 in that octave. And so you have 8 down here in the below, and you have 4 above. 8 and 4 is 12. And then you have the 1, which is the one past that, which is the 13. It's still the same as it is condensed down here. I don't know if you guys understand this math, right? But Penny's all like, she's like, dude, I know what you're saying. And there's Peter typing it into his math on the screen. I'll put it up on the screen because I can't talk about what he's doing here, but he's saying it in the quantum of 3 plus 16 plus 5, 8 and 9, 8 and 4. The quantum, he's talking about fractals, and he's talking about so if you know math and you can see what I just put up on the screen, that's going to get you closer. It's going to seem like a jumbled mess to you unless you're looking at outside of the box, outside of the physical plane into the spiritual. If you're looking for things to make sense in a physical way, what I just said to you is going to drive you crazy. You're going to think I'm crazy. And the math that Peter just put up is not going to make any sense. If you're calculating by tens, it won't make any sense at all. Okay. Denise said this is so amazing. So Rick said 9, 10, 11, 12 is 4 more, not 3. Right? No, but you're counting 9 as 1. 9 is the end. So 9, 10, 11, 12 is 3 more. Okay, you're counting 9 as the 1. 9 is the end of this. It's 3, 6, 9. It's the end of this. 3 more from 9 is 12. 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 1 octave. That's 1 number. Okay, that's the next dimension. The dimensionality, 3rd dimension is this place. That's 3. Okay, the next dimension is the 6, the heart chakra. The next dimension is the 9. So you shift the chakras. This is what people don't get, and I've talked about this before. They call the red ray root chakra 1. If you read Thoth the Atlantean calls the gods. I'm putting this into my book. I'm going to start writing about this tomorrow. Thoth says the gods that rule the 7 are named 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let me say that again. Thoth in Thoth the Atlantean in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth says the 7 gods that rule the 7 archetypes of the human condition, chakras. Their names are 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Actually, the way they say it is 3, 4, 5, and 6, stopping at the heart chakra, 7, 8, and 9. So if the red ray root chakra is not 1, then your crown chakra is not 7. If you shift your thinking to where your red ray root chakra is the 3rd number in the category of counting to 12, not to 10, as the number 1, being the first chakra, being literally the first chakra being the number 3. Its name, according to Thoth, who was an Atlantean, so we're going back hundreds of thousands of years, leaving this information for us in this physical plane. The names of the gods that rule the 7 archetypes that rule the human body and this reality are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Shift your thinking so that the first red ray root chakra is the number 3, which puts the heart chakra as the number 6 and the crown chakra as the number 9. That changes your vibration and changes and activates your thinking to this reality. If you shift it to where you're counting by 1 to 9 in counting by tens, then the red ray root chakra is 1. And you only have 7, and you'll never make the connection to the universe that you're supposed to make. So only counting by 12s will you do that and make it to the universe. And you have to shift your mind's eye that there are 2 chakras outside of your body, below your body, that are the number 1 and the number 2 chakra. And the ones that run the physical plane start with number 3 and go to number 9. That is what this place is, 3, 6, and 9. I don't hear anybody else talking about that. I made that correlation years ago, and I'm writing about it in my book, right? Yes, Peter says 3, 6, and 9. I'm going to put this up on the screen. Divine numbers. And now you get to the 11, the 22, and the 33. And the 33 being the highest prime number for ascended masters, which I am a 33. Okay? Remember what I said? You get to what? From 24, you get to 31, 32, 33 being going back to the 1. Do you understand that? So it exponentially has to be that. If you get from 3, 6, 9 and the progression continues to 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. Do you understand that? 11, 22, and 33 are the ascended masters numbers. You do my life numbers of when I was born, the September 10th, 1967. Just figure that out, and it comes out to 33. Most people will try to do the Pythagorean and go, well, that just is 6 and that just means 3. But the truth is, if you add up to an 11, a 22, or a 33, that's ascended master numbers. Jesus was a 33. Now, I'm not trying to say that I am the Savior and that I am Jesus. There are many people on this earth that have a 33 life number. Most of us know about what's going on. So the 33 is exponentially above 24, and the enigma of 24 is the first 8 octaves in this reality. The only way you get to 24 is you count by 12s, not by 10. And the only way that you can do that with shifting the chakra is shifting the ideology of the chakra from the number 1 being the red ray root and the number 7 being that chakra. The 7 chakras that we have are named in the oldest book talking about the chakras that we know of, which is Thoth the Atlantean, or Thoth, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth from Thoth the Atlantean. And he says that the names of those gods that rule those 7 are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. The triangle is the exponential 3, 6, 9. It is the 3, 6, 9, 3, 6, 9. The Pythagorean theorem. He's asking Peter that, and I'm answering for Peter, but just in case Peter doesn't have his thing to where he can answer the words on the screen, in case he's not having to talk to him from the chat. Okay, so the 3, 6, and 9 is the triangle. That's why you have the triangle inside the circle. That's why if you look at the Pythagorean theorem, it's a triangle. It's upside down in the feminine, but it is the triangle with the 3, 6, and 9. So the Star of David is the masculine triangle facing up and the feminine triangle facing down. That is the heart chakra. The Star of David is the 2-dimensional rendering of the Merkaba. The Merkaba is literally a triangle facing down and one facing up, being the Vesica Pisces, and one is spinning clockwise, the other one is spinning counterclockwise, and that makes up your heart chakra, the Merkaba. Okay, so that's literally 369. 369 is the triangle, both triangles. There's 2 of them because there are 2 archetypes. That's the Ingala and the Pita, and the Ingala and the Pingala, the Ida and the Pingala nervous systems in your body, masculine, feminine nervous system, where you have the 2 oils, one being a milk substance and one being a honey-like substance that are secreted from 2 different places. brain, and they go down your spine, which is happening to me currently because I'm a Virgo. They go down your spine. One is charged with electricity and the other is charged with magnetism. They go down your spine to Bethlehem. I talk about that in my other book, and I've shown the videos in the Law of One chat. I can link it to you if you're on Wool Rider. You can look that up on YouTube, or I'll link it to you if you want from YouTube, and you can watch the video. And literally, it tells about what everybody knew. It's what my book is about. Returning to the old ways, or the reality about reality, returning to the old ways, which is my book that's going to be coming out soon in the next few months. Literally, I talk about it there. That is the knowledge that everybody knew about everywhere around the universe, around the world, in this planet. Before the Anunnaki got here and screwed things up, the Orion Crusaders, before they got here and took control of the narrative and changed it all and got that away from you. Okay. So the 3, 6, and 9 is what rules this place. It is the fabric of the universe, the building blocks of the universe. And we're just getting on to that information now here in the third dimension. And we need to expand our consciousness into the next realm and the next dimension so that we can figure this all out and move into the fourth dimension. So we have to start thinking to calculate by 12s and not by 10s, and move into the next phase of our existence by expanding our consciousness. So the diamond, or the pyramid is the 3, 6, and 9. And the Pyramid of Giza is a representation of the human brain, and that which is in our mind, where the Ark of the Covenant is, that makes up our physiology of our brain, and that which rules everything in everything is literally that pyramided shape that is inside of our skull. And that's the resonance of the crystal skull, of the 13th crystal skull, that we're supposed to try and figure out, guys. So that's the next step. I'm writing about that currently in the next book. But I talk about the Christos, the Christ oil, and how all of these religions around the world knew about it. And they all knew about it for decades, thousands of years. And then it all changed overnight. And all that information was trying to be eradicated by evil people, burning it all and trying to destroy it and keeping anybody from knowing it. But it didn't disappear because it's in everything. It's still in the revelations of Christ, which was written to send the letters to the churches. It's still in many things. The book of Moses is still the story of the Savior character and the ascension, and it's all there. And I'm writing about that now in my second book to correlate that and show you. And I'm just going to give some examples in my book, but it's in everything. Okay, here's a story that got me onto this thinking to where I went, wait a minute, it literally is in everything. And this is how we can show that. When the guys came out with the Bible code, the Hebrews were working on this back in the late 70s, going into the 80s and 90s. And they came out with the Bible code, and they had this algorithm that they designed that would take they literally took the Quran, or the Torah, the Hebrew Torah, and they took out all spaces in there and put it just like the cuneiform writing, with no spaces in between words or anything. And then the algorithm, they would insert a word. So they'd put my name, Leonard O'Neill, and the algorithm would go through the entire Bible, and it would look at to try and find my name spelled in any direction on different paragraphs. And then they would see if there were other words that it would spit out going in all the directions. So it looked like not a crossword puzzle, but a word find, where you draw the lines, and the computer would do that. And it would draw lines. So they would be going this way, forwards, backwards, up, down, and all that, but not like, around in different directions like this. And it would spit out all this stuff. And then apparently when it did do that, it would spit out like my name, and it would say all these different events that happened when they did 9/11. Right? September 11, 2001. And they put that in after the September 11 thing happened. It spit out all this information about the Twin Towers and destruction and all this stuff that, had they thought of that date prior, they could have predicted everything that was going to happen. So people were saying, well, then it's like Nostradamus, where you don't know about it until after it's happened. What good is it? And they were trying to figure out what they're missing to unlock that so they can see into the future. They have to know what questions to ask to look into the future. So a guy who was trying to discount them and discredit them said, I took the book Moby Dick, which is almost the exact word for word, same length as your Hebrew Bible. And I took your algorithm and I did the same thing in the algorithm. And guess what? I came up with the same information. So your whole thing is wrong. I heard that and said, well, that's because it's inherent in everything. And you don't know that until you unlock that, be able to see the matrix for what it is. And that's why I'm telling you that the revelations, the churches, the letters to the churches is secretly telling you how to balance your chakras to ascend. The tablets of Thoth, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the first 7 books are exactly the same information. And I'm writing about that in my next book that will be out in a couple of years. And I'm talking about it now. I'm not afraid to tell people this because I'm not trying to go, oh, I have to keep this a secret from the whole world until I put it out in my book and make $1 trillion. That's not what this is about. People are already telling you this. You can look up on TikTok or on any of those places, and people are already telling you, did you know that the Emerald Tablets of Thoth are telling you the chakras? But nobody's talking about other places that I'm going to be talking about and that I am talking about. It's in everything. It's inherent in everything. The God information is in everything that I say, everything that I write, everything that you say, everything that you write, because all of this is happening in the mind of the Creator, because you, me, and all of this is a thought process and a daydream in our own mind. And that we're imagining all of this so that we can imagine what it means to be alive and mortal and have these experiences. That's what's actually happening here. But no one is ready for that, so they won't accept it. So most people aren't even going to accept what I say about the chakras in my book. And when I say it now, they think I'm crazy. Like Cody's, when she was here earlier, I think she's gone now. When she was here earlier, her husband or boyfriend or whatever he is, or her significant other, he was saying, I'm leaving and I'm going to leave if you continue to listen to Leo because he's crazy. So he was threatening, and now she's not on here anymore. So she got off air because she's either fighting with her man or she's gotten off here and not listening to me because he's threatened that he was going to leave her earlier today, an hour ago. Unless she's still here. I don't know if she let him leave. Okay. So this is what people who are not ready for this information are going to do. They are forced to. And I tell them, don't believe me. Prove me wrong. I tell everybody this. Prove me wrong. Go down the rabbit hole yourself. Pick something that I have said and try to go down that rabbit hole of what I've said and prove that I don't know what I'm talking about and I'm making it all up. And I'll put you on the air and we can talk about it. No one has ever done that in 8 years of me broadcasting. I'm on season 8 now. 8 years of me broadcasting, and I say this at every episode, prove me wrong, anyone out there, and even the people who say he's crazy and he doesn't know what he's talking about, have never came back to me and said, you don't know what you're talking about and I can prove it. Put me on the air and I'll eat you alive. No one's ever said that. Because I know what everyone else knows. When you start going down that line and you start questioning and thinking for yourself, you are going to then go down the same path everyone goes, and you are going to start unlocking the knowledge that if you are in service to self, you will not understand and you will just give up. Because you'll just go, he's wrong, I know he's wrong, and it's all a coincidence. Bring up that word. There's no definitive proof. Coincidence. Don't believe it. And then you go, la, 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 plug your ears, and that's it. Eventually you'll move on. If not, and you are in service to others, and you start going down that path, and you start researching, and you start thinking for yourself and asking questions and following those to their conclusions and asking the questions that those questions propose to you by asking those questions, eventually you're going to go down the same road that everyone else is supposed to go down on this earth and expand your consciousness and unlock knowledge and a way of seeing knowledge that is universal enlightenment. And the only way you can unlock it is by learning about it, and it unlocks for you. And that unlocks more and more and more and more knowledge. You get smarter and smarter and smarter, and you see evil people more and more for who they are, what they're up to. And all of a sudden, one day you're going to go, do you realize that every politician is lying to us all the time blatantly, and every news agency is lying to us all over the world? When did they start doing that? They've never stopped. They've always been doing it. You're just starting to perceive it now, because you're now becoming an adult and you're looking at them and realizing that they're looking at you and going, don't believe what you're seeing. That's not true. I know what's real and what's right for you. Just believe me. And if you don't believe me, then I will kill you and I will ban you and I will dox you and I will make everybody think that I'll ruin you. I'll get you canceled and then they become evil. Their true colors come out. And they're like, I need to shut you up and you need to go away and I'm leaving you if you don't stop talking to that guy. And they have to do that because they have no other recourse. They have to stop you because they can't stop you, and they can only stop themselves. So then they have to control the internet and stop me from platforms so that I can't reach people. Doesn't mean people aren't going to find it. Just slows things down for the rest of the world to figure it out. That's all it does. Just slows things down. Doesn't stop it from happening because people will find it. You can live in a cave your entire life and you can have access and find the exact same information that I know. Okay? It doesn't matter what you learn. That's why earlier when you'd said about the scrolls, well, the Tibetan scrolls have only translated 10%. You can wait for them to try and translate the rest of them, but you're going to find that the information there, unless you are capable of tapping into the actual message that is being taught in that scroll, you will never get any of the answers that you want because you're waiting for somebody to translate it and tell you, I figured it out. And when somebody like me says, I figured it out, and we tell you, you go, that can't be it. That can't be it because you're not the one to figure it out. Who are you to figure this stuff out? And that's the problem when you're stuck in the flesh, that you can't believe anybody else could. And then you can't go, you'll say to yourself, it can't be that simple. It's got to be bigger than that because that's the way the universe is. You don't realize how big that is. You don't realize that how big the answer to getting off of this rock and to ascending to heaven, how big that answer is and how simple it is and how mean that it is everything and nothing. It is 9 and 0. It is everything and nothing at the exact same time. So it is completely simple and the most complicated thing you'll ever know at the exact same time. Therefore, when you see it, you go, it can't be that simple. Till you keep looking. I spent 2 years trying to prove myself wrong. And every time I did that, I saw the algorithm and the spiral and the 3, 6, and 9, and I saw everything exactly the same way. And I saw I'm Neo standing in the Matrix, seeing the X's and O's. And I'm watching that for 2 years, looking everywhere, trying to say, I'm going to find something that's going to tell me this isn't right. Not going to happen. I can't be translating the scrolls because only the people in the very end of time is supposed to be translating the scrolls. And then I looked around and there were some other people that were starting to see the same thing without me saying, this is what I saw. They're going, do you know that this is what that means? When I first do that, the people are like, yeah, of course it does. So I stopped doing that. And I said, what do you think of this scroll? Oh, well, nobody understands what it means. It must be the churches that Jesus is writing to. And it's those places that they represent in time. What does that mean? Why would he be writing letters to them? Because he's mad at them. It doesn't say that. It says, let him who hath the understanding, let him who have the ears to hear. And that if you do this and that, and I'm okay with you, but if you're not, and then you're like this, then I'm mad at you. That's what that's saying. And then when you go past that, what does it mean? Well, it's the apocalypse then, because they're opening the scrolls and wreaking havoc on the world. It's not what's happening there. It's not. That's part of it. That's what's happening if you're evil, and then you don't get to know anything besides getting veiled again. We already know that that's what's going on. So if it's that simple, then the revelation is what? And it is that simple. The revelation is if you do what you're supposed to do, you get to unlock immortality and you get to go to heaven. If you don't do what you're supposed to do, you get stuck here in the third dimension, in hell. Heaven and hell. It's that simple. But the answer will only be determined by whether or not you are capable or ready to get what I'm saying to you. Otherwise, you'll just go, he's an idiot, he's crazy. Until you don't. So I can put it out there. I can show you the tools. I have the keys to all the doors to the car to get out of here. All you have to do is find the lock. Was it Jesus said that? Here, I am the key to the lock on the door. Your job is to find the door and insert the key and unlock the door. Jesus said that. So he was telling you that he was the key, that he was giving you the key to the door. You have to accept the key and look for the door and find it. And when you find the door, you turn it and unlock it and it opens and you get to come in. It's that simple. It is that simple. But most people are not ready for it or aware of it, but they're waking up. So I'm writing. My first book's coming out soon to introduce that, the reality about reality returning to the old ways. My second book that I'm currently writing will be out in a couple of years, and that one, at least at this point, is going to be entitled the Old Ways. I may change that title between now and then, but because that's what I did with the title that I have now. I was a completely different title until just before the book was ready. So, but it's going to be about the old ways, and I'm going to show you where in all these religions they correlate and how they're all the same. And it's not because they all borrowed from each other. It's because independent people around the earth at different times and different places unlocked the same knowledge and partook of that and gave it to the people. And religions were based on that. And it's all the same knowledge. They're all the same. Some people are waking up around the world to that, but it's still a small minority. All right, guys, I got to go. My mother is done taking off her shoes and her socks now. So it means I got to go and get her in the shower because she's probably peed herself. And it's getting late. It's almost 6 o'clock. I need to do dinner in a little while. Anyways, so I love you guys. I hope I've answered the questions. I hope that you guys don't think I'm crazy. Those of you that are still here probably don't think I'm crazy. Some of you might, but chances are you didn't stay long. Learn what you can. Read. Figure it out. Learn for yourself. You're going to see that when you start waking up, you literally start seeing what's going on and you're no longer duped by their lies. That's the beginning that you know that you're in the process of waking up. When you start looking around, you start going, wait a minute. These people are all children around me. Everyone. Wait a minute. These people are lying. They're all lying. Do they know that we can see them? No, because they don't think you can. Because most people don't. That's status quo. They keep everybody at 11 years of age mentally, and they can Jedi mind trick children. That's what they do. That's why they call television programming. It's called programming for a reason. Programs you. It's telling you what to think. That's why on my Facebook page in the background is a newscaster, and he says it's 6 o'clock. Up next, what we want you to think, because that's what they're saying to you without you knowing they're saying that. And then you have to think what they tell you to think, and if you go against that, then they cancel culture your ass and they get rid of you so that no one, or they just tell people you're crazy, making things up. Crazy man, insane, until they're not. So when you start looking around and start going, man, these people are just blatantly lying on television, these politicians and the newscasters, when did they start doing that? They've always done it. The difference is you're able to see it now. You're not going crazy. It's literally been happening all the time to your parents' parents, from the beginning of time until now. It's all been going on just like that. Always. Hasn't changed and is not going to change. It's not going to change because this is the ecosystem that the creator of the universe created for the trial of the baby soul. The third dimension is the first place that you are self-aware. It's the first place you know you are something. The task here is to overcome this so-called reality and start realizing that you are more than this and expand into that. That is what this place is supposed to do. So until you stop living in the flesh, in the bottom 3 chakras, and move up into past the heart chakra into the upper 3 chakras and start living in that place. And once you start doing that, you immediately start looking back on the bottom 3 chakras and go, wow, it's all fake. They're lying about everything. And then you start looking around, you start listening to the way people talk, and you go, my God, they're like little kids. How dare you disrespect me? You diss me? How dare you diss me? Diss me? Disrespect me? How dare you talk to me like that? I'm a grown-ass man. A grown-ass man doesn't need to say, I'm a grown-ass man. A grown-ass woman doesn't need to say, they're a grown-ass woman. You'll find yourself not doing that anymore because you have no need to prove yourself to anybody. You are who you are. That's when you start looking at them and go, wow, they're just blatantly lying about everything. And then you try to tell everybody, wake up, they're lying to you. And they're like, shut up, you crazy person. And then you'll get in my boat where all of a sudden you'll start trying to wake everybody up and you'll get angry and you'll get upset because no one's listening to you. Until you stop doing that, you're supposed to get past that and realize they can't. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Jesus said that when he was on the cross. That is what he meant. It's not their fault. They're not ready to be awake. They are just children. Okay? And you realize that. You have to have pity on them and realize it's not their fault. This is what this place is doing to all of us. I see it now, and I'm moving there. The only person that you can fix is you. Can't fix anybody else. I can't fix you. I can't make you believe anything. The only thing I can do is pull you out of your comfort zone enough or piss you off enough to get you to try and prove me wrong, which means you're going to start thinking for yourself and asking your own questions. That's what I need to do. That's what I'm here to do. I'm not here to be the savior. I'm not here to convince you of anything. I don't have time for that. My job is to tell you, this is the tools. You can choose to believe them or not. You can choose to use them or not. You can choose to, or whatever. You will find your way in the time you're supposed to, that you set down for yourself to do it. If in any way I assist you by that, that is what I'm here for. I am here to answer questions to the world for those few on the planet that will ask. That's what I'm here for. Anyone else is going to go, you don't know anything. Let me prove it. Do it. Go down the road and start asking questions. Eventually, you'll just go, nah, 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 boo, boo, no, not listening to you anymore. And you'll leave because you will not be able to change me or what I have to say or what other people believe. You'll start learning it on your own. So the problem is everybody thinks that they have to tell everybody what to do because evil people tells you what you're supposed to think. So you start doing the same thing because you don't realize that that's being in service to self. The second you start being in service to others is when you stop trying to tell anyone what to do. And people go, don't you care that person's hurting themselves? I can't change that. They're making their own. That's up to them to hurt. They want to commit suicide by doing those drugs or that alcohol. They're going to do it. You can't force them to stop until they're ready. No matter how many times you lock them up and put them in rehab, they're going to do it. People are going to sit and beat their head on the wall until it hurts, so they get knocked out and wake up and do it again until they get tired of doing it and get tired of the pain, and then they stop beating their head against the wall. They start going, what the hell did I do that for? Now you've learned. Why didn't you tell me that? I tried, but you wouldn't listen. Well, bullshit. If you had just told me, that's not true. And that's why we film everything now. Look, I tried to tell you right here and here and here and here, and you ignored me. Oh, I guess I did, didn't I? They have to learn that about themselves. The only one who can fix you is you. The only one who can save you is you. You are the savior you're waiting for. Religion has been corrupted to what's telling you, wait here, God's coming back in a bus, coming to get you. We have this thing, it's called the rapture. He's going to show up and you have to be ready because he's going to come like a thief in the night. But when he gets here, you got to be ready to, with your clothes packed and ready to go. And then you got to go and stand up before the pearly gates and still get judged anyway, and you still might not make it in. Okay? That's what they tell you. Do all this stuff and you'll be rewarded in the afterlife. Be my slave, do what I tell you to do, and you'll get this reward later after you're dead. That's the corruption of the churches. They're not teaching you how to ascend. They're teaching you to wait here and do what I tell you to do. Oh, and by the way, I need 10% of your money. I need the tithing. It was talked about in the Bible. It's not what that meant. I'm going to have to cover that portion of the Bible just so that people understand what that actually meant. I do actually in my book. In the one that's coming out, I actually talk about that tithing and what that is. It has to do with the Christos, the Christ oil within you, the Christ within, not the Christ without of doing what the church tells you to do and being their slave until you drop dead, because then you'll be rewarded and made a pillar and you get to stand as a stone in front of God as a statue for all of eternity. You should be really wanting to do that. Just be in the presence of God. Never able to talk to anybody, interact with anybody, or move, or think, or anything. You just be staring at God, and that's all you get. And that's the best thing God has to offer. That's what they tell you. Like, what kind of life is that? I'm for eternity staring at God. That's a fucking bright light. I wish I could close my eyes to blink every now and then, because I'm going to go blind looking at this light, but I can't even think about it, can't even do it, because I'm a pillar. Think about that life. I'm so happy. I've done so well, everybody knows me as a statue. They come over and talk to me, but I can't talk back to them. I can't say, yeah, I know that you know that I'm here. Think about that now. That's a story you tell a child. It's not a realistic story. If that's the best God's got to offer us, is that I'm going to make you a pillar in my presence to where you can just stand still as stone in my presence. I'm so fucking cool that should be enough for you for all of eternity. That's the best God has to offer us. It's not what God's offering. It's not what God's offering. As an adult, you look at that and go, that's just not true. Because if you buy that, then you also buy the here, strap this bomb on, go over there and blow yourself up in front of all those people. And when you get to heaven, God's going to give you little baby girls to have sex with and rape every day. Going to give you virgins so that you can rape them and make their life miserable by hurting their bodies every single day. You're going to get a whole new group. What happens to them after that? Never mind that now. Never mind that now. They become angels. Whore angels that somebody's raping and having sex with once and throwing away. Never mind that. You get virgins in heaven. It's your reward. Go here, put this on, go over there, blow yourself up. And then you'll do that. And then when that happens, you're going to go, fuck. Well, I learned that lesson. And you'll never do that again the next time you come in as a human, but you won't remember it when you come down here. So you can't tell anybody. Don't strap on that bomb and blow yourself up because that's a con. That's bullshit. It never happens. So when guys like me tell you this about pillar in heaven, it's the same thing. Most people are going to go, blasphemy, blaspheme. Don't you blaspheme in here. You're the devil. Okay, if that's what you need to do and run away from me, do it. I don't care. I'm not here to be your savior. I'm not the Christ. Okay? I have the Christ oil within me, but I'm not the Christ. I'm not here to be strung up on it and die for your sins. I'm here to give you the tools to help you see them on this earth that have already been here in front of your eyes for all of time. I'm here to show you that. Your job is to either accept that key, get in the car, turn it on, and drive your ass to heaven, or to throw those fucking keys away and go over and find a hot dog or a hamburger and sit down and go, that guy was crazy. Somebody give me some alcohol. I need to go to work because I need to make money because I ain't getting out of this place anytime soon. Because that's where you're going to go, right here. You're going to be stuck here the rest of your life. So don't even look then. If you're in service to self and you think I'm crazy, you should be content with your life. You shouldn't be here listening to me right now anyways. Because you should be content with your life. Are you the king of the earth? No, because another person who's bigger evil than you already has that job. You're nobody on the evil shit-o-meter. Okay? And you don't have the guts to be eviler than everybody else and take over from the Rothschilds and the Habsburgs and the Hohenzollern's and all the people that are in charge and think they own this earth. You don't have the guts to take them on because the second you become a threat to them, they just kill you and make you recycle and start the fuck over. Okay? So I got nothing for you. And if that's the case, I got nothing for you. On the other side of the coin, you don't have to have anything for them. If you're in service to others, you're going to unlock the knowledge that eventually that knowledge will give you the ability when you die to not have to return here anymore. So if you don't like being here and you think there's got to be something better than this and I don't like being here, what do you have to lose? What do you have to lose by thinking maybe crazy people like this guy might actually have a knowledge that might help? What do you have to lose? You're stuck here and you ain't going anywhere. I'm writing this in my book. You're not going anywhere and this is it, Jack. So what do you have to lose by expanding your consciousness to go, what if what that guy's saying is true and I just ignore him for my entire lifetime and then I get out of here and I'm stuck and I have to recycle again, but I don't get to remember that, but I'll know it while I'm up there. That all I had to do was listen to that dumbass who was preaching about ascension. And all those other dumbasses throughout time that he was talking about, they were preaching ascension. And I could have ended this shit and not had to go back to that fucked up planet one more time. What do you have to lose? Your soul? Yeah, because the devil's going to take me into hell. You're there. You're already living in it. Because heaven is there where hell is and hell is down on earth. Because your life is what you make of it. Your focus. You're either living in hell in this place in the flesh, or you're living in heaven in this place in the flesh. And if you're living in heaven in this place in the flesh, you're starting to ascend and you're moving out of the flesh. And you know about it. What do you have to lose? Nothing. What do you have to gain? Everything. That's the 9, the hex boson. Nothing and everything. That is the key. That is the answer. That is the answer to the universe. You can either keep recycling. That's the 9 controlling you back to the 0 and the 0 point starting over again. and going back through 3, 6 and going back to 9 and starting over again, going back to 3 through 6 and going to 9, starting over again. You can continue to do that and be stuck in this plane. Okay? Or when you get to that 0 point, Thoth the Atlantean said, in the center, the 0 point, infinity, realize that everything is nothing and nothing is everything. Up is down, down is up. The way off this rock is to look within, not without. That's the secret. Look within. Well, what's in there that I'm supposed to find? Your chakras, your balance, your ascension. It's within you. You are the savior you're supposed to be looking for. You are the savior you're waiting for. Looking to the 0 point. The way to heaven is through the center of the earth, through the center of you, through your heart chakra, the 6 number. Because the first red ray root chakra is not number 1, it is number 3. That makes your heart chakra number 6, and your crown chakra, the illumination, the epiphany, the light of the world, the ascension into heaven, the 9. It is everything and nothing all at once. I love you guys. Have a great night. I will see you guys next week. And I'll give you guys any updates that I have on my book if I find something else out there. Right now, they're going to start trying to hit me up for all kinds of more money to get endorsements and everything else they can try to charge me for to get me up somewhere around $20,000 before I even get the book out. But I won't be spending much more money, if any at all. Right? And I'll be contacting them. How long now until somebody else contacts me so I can say, not spending any money, not spending any money. Give me a date on the book release, and I'll let you guys know exactly when that's going to be. I love you guys. Have a great night. Have a great weekend. This has been Orion Rising. I am your host, Leonard O'Neill. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good morrow, depending on where in the world you are tuning into this show.